Hokage I can only draw S-rank rewards. Chapter 321-340. Chapter 321 _ The decisive battle begins. Luffy, let's go first. The Revolutionary Army is the only one who rushed over first. With our current combat strength, we are not the enemy of BIGMOM at all. Sabo's subtle voice just remembered. The next scene made him call me grass in his heart. What? Beat up first. Leave the ant to me, and the rest is up to you. Rubber jet rockets. Not to mention the Straw Hats and Sabo, even the 34 ministers didn't understand Luffy's brain circuits. Of course, the only person who remained calm was Katakuri, who had already stopped Luffy. Sabo, guys, the plans have changed. I'll deal with this big guy first, and then deal with Big Mom. Luffy's orders are always so random, but everyone has no choice but to accept this battle that is impossible to win at all. Hey, don't meddle in my brother's battle. Sabo walked alone in front of the 34 ministers. Although he did not have the aura of a king who was above the world, his killing intent matched his arrogance, which shocked everyone for a while. At this time, Sanji, who was standing in front of the Straw Hat gang, blew the smoke out of his mouth, and his face was full of helplessness. The lack of strength, and the cliff-like gap, made him fall from the status of the three major forces to the point where he could only protect his partners by the side, and he could not share the pressure for his captain when he was outnumbered. Do you crave power? The sudden voice made Sanji startled, but when he raised his head, he saw a pair of strange Kang Yuhi eyes. Peace, Evil Eye Lei Luo. Yes, it's me, the former Navy who destroyed the Vinsmokes. The Straw Hats behind them looked at Sanji's clenched fists and slightly trembling body, and their hearts tensed. One BIGMOM pirate group is enough, and if you add Lei Luo, today is definitely a place to die without a burial. Sanji, you must hold back for the time being. After a few seconds, Sanji sucked out the cigarette in his hand. Vinsmoke is nothing but mom and sister to me. Well said. Then, as my brother-in-law, I'll give you a present. Lei Luo threw a bird-shaped bracelet surrounded by jet-black flames. Go, you help your partner. Starting with the bracelet, a flood of information flooded into Sanji's mind instantly. Storm Star Bennu Technology Combat Nether Cloth. Looking at the pitch-black armor that instantly wrapped himself, Sanji glanced at Lei Luo heavily. He could feel that the power given to him by this robe was enough to compete with anyone. Boom. Just as Sanji rushed into the sea of people fighting with Sabo, two rays of light landed in the air, and the mixture of thunder and sword energy suddenly burst out. Analu, why are you here? Unintentionally seeing his former enemy, Luffy actually greeted him as if he had seen an old friend. Flaw. The battle-hardened Katakuri didn't have the slightest estimate, and a trident with a sharp cold glow fell from his right arm, approaching Luffy's throat. Hum. Lightning flashed, appearing between Luffy and Katakuri, which was wrapped around by the dark clothes, and suddenly grabbed the trident that was only a few centimeters away from Luffy's throat. This was just one hand, and the person who made Katakuri unable to advance the trident in his hand was none other than Analu, dressed in the robe of Qianshang Star Garuda. HMPH, when the fight is over, I will settle the account with you. The interlude ends here, and the chaotic war begins again. Perospero, who was at the commanding heights in the depths, looked at the battle situation below, his face sank, and he also joined it. He didn't expect that the Mingyi brought by Lei Luo would have such a terrifying blessing. Even Sanji, at this moment, would be hard to beat with 7 in and 7 out in the melee. However, this melee is certainly exciting, but the audience sitting in front of the live broadcast has always focused on the silent ant looking down at the ground at the back. On the ground, it was a photo frame, but it had long since been shattered by falling to the ground. After being chopped into pieces by the sword energy, the photos were burned to black ashes by the high temperature of the thunder. Mother, ah! Without the slightest sign, the furious anti-ant completely lost their minds, raised their heads and roared at the sky. That extremely ruthless soul force, perfectly fused with Conqueror's haki, attacked everyone's hearts, and made the melee that had hit Yuhi in the eye. For one, stagnation. At this moment, Lei Luo understood that the battle between himself and his aunt had already been announced. Just stay in this golden mask I arranged, don't run around. After explaining to Nami and the others, Lei Luo rushed up and appeared in front of the ant. BIGMOM Pirates and the Straw Hats, the Revolutionary Army and the Alliance of Peacekeepers has officially started. Big Boss, wake up, everyone said that you are not good enough to drink, so drink less. Lajaloo pushed Shanks, who was still sleeping soundly beside him, with a worried expression. After all, the one who is currently fighting against the BIGMOM Pirates is Luffy. However, no matter how Lajaloo pushed, Shanks' biggest reaction was to turn over impatiently and fall asleep again. It's alright, just watch it right here, that kid Luffy will definitely not lose. After all, he's the man the captain looks forward to the most to become the Pirate King. Ben Beckman glanced at Shanks, who was pretending to be asleep, and said with a smile. Naval Headquarters. Is that the latest armor from Lei Luo's mouth? In the marshal's office, the marshal and the three generals were rarely gathered together, and there was even a tall figure with a black robe covering his body and exuding a chill all over his body. It's terrifying, the performance of Blackfoot Sanji. I'm afraid the old man is not sure that he will be able to capture him 100% by himself. Kizaru still spoke in the same tone, but this time, his words won the approval of everyone present. This is the product of science and technology and mythology, the terrifying blessing brought by the sacred clothing. Then let's continue to discuss how the next plan should be carried out. Aokiji, you can talk about the next action of Tiki first. Akainu raised his head and looked at the black-robed man sitting across from him. Next, we originally planned to. At this moment, people all over the world are tightly locking their eyes on the big screen, for fear that they will miss any picture. And the demonstration of the Emperor soon, or the fall of the old Emperor. Ah, I'm going to kill you all. Not a single one. Ant's roar continued to circle around the open space, and it never dissipated for a long time. Then to show respect for the four emperors, come out, Susanoo. Chapter 322-Hades. Ah, I'm going to kill you. Straw Hat Luffy, I'm going to kill you. The ant, who has completely lost her mind, is frantically destroying everything around her, even the crew members under her command are no exception. Boom. It seems that the sky felt the anger of the ant, and chose to use the dark clouds to cover itself. The thunder and fire appeared in an instant, and the torrential rain fell even more, and the whole Cake Island looked like a hell. No, my golden light spell cannot defend against attacks from the soul. In Susanoo, Lei Luo looked at the milky white souls appearing in the air, his face gloomy. That's the life of the Straw Hats. Forget it, just stay in Susanoo. Lei Luo raised his hand and grabbed it, and the strong suction in his palm instantly absorbed those souls into Susanoo, while his body was surrounded by circles of orchid phosphorus fire. Seeing the thundercloud Zeus and the sun Prometheus showing their power, Napoleon, the double-horned hat, was not to be outdone, and immediately changed into the shape of a giant sword, which appeared in the hands of the ant, and the sword was wrapped in infinite flames. The Emperor's sword is broken. In the eyes of the ant who holds the magic weapon, there is still only Luffy who is fighting Katakuri in the distance. As for Lei Luo who is currently blocking her, the only way is to kill him. The flaming giant sword roared past with thunder, and where the blade passed, everything was in two halves. Faced with such an offensive, Lei Luo did not choose to dodge, but grinned, because on the ground, light blue flames appeared on the corpses, which was the accumulation of corpse energy. Accumulation of corpse energy underworld wave. With the sound of Lei Luo's voice, he and the ant disappeared suddenly in everyone's eyes, and they didn't know where they were going. Here, it is a region with only gray and black, and there is only a steady stream of sad screams in my ears. When I look up, it is even more depressed, and I can't find a trace of anger. This power, this is my empire. Feeling the spirits floating around, the ant's sense of sanity gradually recovered as before. Now, Even if she doesn't know where this place is, she will not panic at all, because the soul fruit can make her devour it unscrupulously. These souls make up for their lost power. Here, she is the only emperor. Boy Lei Luo, although I am very grateful for you to bring me to this place, you still cannot escape death. The ant smiled sinisterly. In her heart, she had already planned to deprive Lei Luo of his lifespan to only 3 days, and then silently watched this heavenly favorite being trampled mercilessly at his most glorious moment. Deputy aged body. Annoying the 4 emperors will definitely be more terrifying than death. However, facing the threat of Auntie, Lei Luo was not afraid at all, quietly suspended in the air, playing with the soul in front of him. I didn't bring you here to make you speak to me in this gesture, even if you are the real emperor here. When the words fell, the souls wandering at Lei Luo's fingertips wailed instantly. You are just the emperor in your soul, and I am the god who dominates everything here. A thought that scatters the soul and revives everything with a thought is my unique power. The next moment, Kang Yan burned in Lei Luo's hands, white smoke rose up, and his soul was completely shattered. Seeing this scene, the ant just chuckled on the surface, but deep down in her heart, there was an emotion that had not appeared in decades. Fear comes from the fear in the depths of the soul, from the fear of the emperor of the soul. You are just a newcomer, what qualifications do you have to speak out in front of the emperor? The emperor is addicted to the sword and soul. At the moment when the ant raised the giant sword in her hand above her head, countless souls seemed to feel the call of the king, and rushed into it without thinking of death. Face. Go to hell, Lei Luo. The emperor's sword and soul will be destroyed. The giant sword was swung down, and the souls within a radius of 10 miles vanished overnight. There were countless negative emotions in this space, and they all rushed to the defenseless Lei Luo, wanting to completely suppress him. Ant can feel that those souls attached to Napoleon's double-horned hat are desperately burning their remaining power, in order to launch a devastating blow to the self-proclaimed emperor. Among the beasts, the strongest one will be regarded as the Beast King, but in front of the gods, this is just a low-level barbaric creature, and it is not worth mentioning at all, just as it is now stable with only 2 fingers. He took over Lei Luo, who was slashing at him with the giant sword without any waves on his face. What? The ant looked at everything in front of her in disbelief. She didn't want to believe that someone could take this sword from her so easily, and she didn't expect that the man could only rely on the strength between his 2 fingers to make her unable to break free from it. This is not the fear of falling into the quagmire, but the despair of being crushed by Mount High. As I said, I am the god here. Lei Luo flicked his fingers, and the dark and deep Kang Yan spread along the blade toward the ant. Wherever Kang Yan passed, all the souls dissipated, and there was only one survivor, and that was the ant who was desperately retreating. Even if it was just a confrontation, Auntie instantly understood the gap between the two. This is an unbridgeable gap, a distance that can never be reached between a weak human being and a great god. Damn, you have to get out of here as soon as possible. A strange thought kept driving Big Mom's body, waving the long sword against the side of her body. Next, I'll show you what the power of a true god is. Come on. With a majestic voice coming out of Lei Luo's voice, a long-lost silence appeared in the entire underworld. But, before the storm comes, there is always absolute tranquility. The next moment, Auntie only felt the continent under her feet tremble violently, and the endless souls from all directions came like a tide, all of them crawling on the ground, their heads deeply buried in the ground, and she did not dare to look directly at the person who was filled with Kang Yan. Figure. Huh, why am I seeing my body? Wait a minute, this is my soul. Ant never thought that she, who is known as the toughest soul in the world, would leave her body so easily because of an order from her mouth. At this moment, the ant looked at the azure figure in the sky, and there was no contempt in her eyes, and there was only a strong fear. I am the god in charge of the soul ruler of hell, Hades. The ancient and distant voice kept echoing in Ant's ears. All she could do was tremble, an unstoppable trembling, a trembling from the origin of her soul. Chapter 323 _ Death of the Star. Please, please, let me go. From the ant's soul, which was constantly eroded by King Yan, there was a mournful begging for mercy. This kind of behavior has never been taught to her, but she has no teacher, because it is the imprint of the soul, the fear of gods. I once met a man who said that only fleeting explosions are eternal art. Lei Luo sneered and extinguished the King Yan that burned the ant's soul. At this moment, an invincible giant hand seemed to appear in the air, holding Auntie's soul tightly in her palm, forcing her to focus on the billions of souls on the ground. Come on, witness the unprecedented art with all I have. Accumulated corpses and souls will be buried. Boom. In an instant, the dazzling white light made it difficult to open your eyes, and the terrifying loud noise made the heaven and earth surrender to it. In the whole world, only the beautiful King Yan was left, burning everything. A thought is blown away. These 6 words lingered in Ant's ears for a long time and never dissipated, and the empty land in front of her was even more shocking. It's good luck for you, you are not dead yet. A few sarcastic sneers came, and the ant only felt that the scene in front of her was gradually becoming confused. When she opened her eyes again, only the Cake Island was reduced to a melee battlefield with less than 10 people left. Back, back. The terrified ant looked at her unscathed body and did not want to believe what had just happened, but the young man who held King Yan and stood above everyone else reminded her all the time that this cruel reality is not a dream. Stop it all, or I'll kill Straw Hat Luffy now. After a long time, Katakori's roar resounded in the ears, and under the trident in his hand, it was Luffy who was already weak and afraid. Since the appearance of Lei Luo, Katakori has foreseen the final defeat, but he did not expect that the mighty BIGMOM pirate group would be ended by these few people. Next, he will use his own way to retain the last bloodline. Lei Luo, I want to challenge you. It is a one-on-one battle between men. As long as I win, I will lead the rest of the people away from this place. In the future, there will be only the Peacemaker Alliance, and there will be no BIGMOM pirates. Katakori growled hysterically. This is a mortal battle, and he has a mortal heart long before the battle begins. Everyone's eyes are now focused on Lei Luo. No matter whether he accepts or not, this one-on-one decisive battle cannot stop the victorious Libra from tilting towards the Peacemaker Alliance. One of Katakori's lives can make a difference. The only thing is to fight for the last time. It could be a few minutes, it could be just a few seconds. I have one more thing to do before I start. Lei Luo admired Katakori's approach, and even moved to the idea of bringing him under his command, but the enemy is the enemy. No matter how much we cherish each other, we will never be able to stand on a united front. Under everyone's attention, Lei Luo punched into the void. Yuck. At that moment, the belly of the ant who was still confused was sunk to an extremely terrifying level, and countless pale white balls swept out of her mouth and flew in all directions. In the distance, on a barren mountain top, the only tomb burst apart, and a huge arm burst out of the ground. On the sea, several heads that had long been soaked to the point of being swollen were desperately breathing the long-lost oxygen. In the town, the old man who had completely swallowed his breath suddenly raised his head, his old face regained its youth again, and vitality surged out of his body. In these minds, there is only the back of a god, that is a young man. We're still alive. Boss Jinbei, where are you? The members of the Sun Pirates who had been deprived of their lifespan before, looked at the corpses of the members of the BIGMOM pirates around, and shouted the captain's name. Within the golden light shield, there were no skinny murlocs, but only a strong blue murloc with abundant blood, looking at the godlike figure in the sky with gratitude. One thought, all things are born, mother. Ling Ling, here. From the ant's mouth, a few words came out vaguely intermittently, and everyone could hear what it was, but everyone knew that it was the moment when the old emperor fell. Katakori, come on, I'll let you die like a warrior. After doing all this, Lei Luo took a deep breath, and when he entered the Godzilla Sage mode, he was tightly wrapped by Susanoo, and on the outermost layer, there was a pair of dark armor exuding supreme Kamui. Pluto's cloth. This is his admiration for Katakori, and he tried his best to shoot. This battle is the greatest honor I've ever had, but I'm sorry. Feeling Lei Luo's completely unshakable terrifying power, Katakuri smiled and suddenly apologized to Lei Luo. In the next second, the entire cake island turned from hard to soft, with a strong stickiness, which was a sign of the awakening of Nuo fruit. Not good. Analu, hurry up and protect Luffy. Looking at Katakuri in front of him with a swelling figure, Lei Luo's heart shuddered, and the observation hockey in his mind provided him with a picture of everything being destroyed in an explosion. Just as Katakuri finally glanced down at the younger sister Bu Rin, whom he regarded as more important than life, after he had boarded the ship under the cover of Perospero, he revealed all the kiba under the scarf. This is Katakuri's life-ending smile. Boom. It's over. Starting today, the BIGMOM pirates no longer exist. Akainu looked at the screen in front of him that had turned black and white stripes due to a loud noise, and a long-lost ease appeared on his face. I didn't expect that boy Lei Luo to hide so many trump cards. It seems that the era of great peace is not far away from us. Looking at the chair next to him, which was still cold, but there was no figure, Kizaru just smiled. The wind and waves subsided, the roar dissipated, and on the endless sea, there was only a group of figures standing on the golden light, silently bowing their heads, and offering heartfelt condolences for the scarf fragment flying in the air. Katakuri, you will always be the strongest deputy in my heart. Watching the scarf fragments silence the sea, Lei Luo put his right fist on his chest, and expressed his admiration for the deceased General Star with the etiquette of the Peacemaker Alliance. At this moment, no one noticed that a huge female body was held by a giant dragon under the seabed and sailed into the distance. Chapter 324 Accumulating corpse energy turns spiritual waves. Lei Luo, why are you so stingy and handsome? You gave Analu a pair of armor, and you don't want to give me a pair. The copyright of the novel resource belongs to the original author, and the text is only for personal study and trial reading. Please delete it within 24 hours after downloading. Please support subscribing to genuine novels and refuse piracy. Quote. A few days later, at the East China Sea Peacekeepers Alliance base, Luffy, with a swollen face, complained to Lei Luo. After the decisive battle with the BIGMOM pirates, the Straw Hats were brought back to the base by Lei Luo and Sabo and his party for treatment. However, no one thought that the first thing Luffy did when he woke up was to run to compete with Analu, and the result was that he was beaten into a fat pig by Analu, who was wearing the holy clothes. Not even a chance to fight back. Hey, are you still a pirate? Okay. This is the highest technological achievement of our alliance, why should I send it to you? Seeing that Lei Luo didn't speak for a long time, Analu cut. Then why can Sanji have it, but I can't? He's also a pirate. Luffy, no matter what, Lei Luo is also my brother-in-law, and my sister also said that this is my home, so it's only natural for me to take something from my elders in my own home. HMPH, after all, it's not a relationship. It's boring, I'm going to continue to go to sea. After begging for a long time, Luffy found that Lei Luo was still unmoved. Luffy was also free and easy. He turned his head and left with the crew. Before boarding the ship, he did not forget to make a big face to Lei Luo. Looking at the disappearing figure of Wanli Sunshine, Lei Luo was also quite helpless. It's not that he doesn't want to give Luffy a set of the sacred clothes, but the sacred clothes that appear in the eyes of the world are Lei Luo's account of Jaji in advance, and he used the Imperial Palace to throw it in a time flow rate as the sea. Thief world is processed and forged in 1/10,000th of a small time. The current alliance of peacekeepers simply can't come up with extra nether cloths. Late at night, Lei Luo's room. System, hurry up, I want to draw a lottery, and it's twice in a row. After inspection, the host has only one god-level lottery point and cannot conduct a second lottery. Isn't it? According to the progress of the mission, Lei Luo, who eliminated the BIGMOM pirates, should have completed 2 missions, but why is there only a god-level lottery point reward? Could it be that the ant is not dead yet? Puff quack quack. Just when Lei Luo was about to ask if there was a bug in the system, the phone worm beside him suddenly rang. Big brother Huang Yuan, what's wrong? Charlotte Lingling was rescued by Gai Duo. It's just a secret report from Aokiji, who has established an ally with the beast pirates. Besides, the next plan. After a long time, Lei Luo, who put down the phone bug, let out a long sigh. Tiki escaped and Auntie was rescued. If Guy is going to get away with it, then it's too fucking outrageous. Wait a minute, Margot seems to be still in Titch's hands. Suddenly thinking of this, Lei Luo felt a headache, and he actually forgot about it. However, in the plan just mentioned by Kizaru, it seems that there is no link to rescue Margao by himself. Could it be that he and Aokiji will play a key role? The more he thought about it, the more complicated Lei Luo felt that he was too lazy to think so much. Anyway, no matter who he was, he would definitely not be his opponent. In the future, he could just follow the plan. Right now, the most important thing was obviously the lottery. Ding! The lottery carousel has been activated, and the prize this time is SSS level skills. Accumulate corpse energy and turn spiritual waves. SS class weapon. Thor's hammer. SS level reward. Orn, flame of the mountain. SSS class weapon. Relentless Excalibur. SS grade props. Nothingness swallowing flames. SS level skills. Skyfire 3 mysterious transformations. The accumulation of corpse chi turns spiritual waves. The supreme meaning of corpse chi, the legendary super stunt that makes all the gods smash. It is a nightmare for the gods. Bai Li, an old man, used this trick to put an end to the first level god of sleep, Hypnos. Thor's hammer, Thor's weapon, was blessed by Odin with the power of Odin, the inheritance of Asgardero. With a hammer in hand, he can be the god of thunder. Aowen, the flame of the mountain, the god of fire and forging, the artifact in the mouth of human beings, is just a bunch of defective products that failed to forge in his eyes. The ruthless divine sword, the sword held by the indomitable demon god Wangtian, contains the ruthless avenue of heaven and earth. If the sky is in love, the sky is also old, and the ruthless sword is immortal. Nothingness swallows the flames. The otherworld fire Hobi, wood expulsion, is the second-ranked fire. In fact, it is the strongest flame born in heaven and earth, and it has the ability to swallow all things, and between heaven and earth can resist its swallowing power. The number of hands. The 3 mysterious transformations of Tianhuo are a secret method passed down by Xiao Zhan, the patriarch of the Xiao clan, one of the 8 ancient clans. The stronger the flame power, the stronger the increase will be. In addition, through system strengthening, the sequelae caused by the increased time have been removed. Looking at the prizes that appeared in his mind, Lei Luo's emotions did not fluctuate at all. He seemed to feel that, along with the progress of the pirate world, the appearance of high-level prizes was inevitable, and it had nothing to do with his luck. As for the above-mentioned 6 paths prizes, the one that Lei Luo paid the most attention to was naturally the SSS-level corpse chi turning spiritual waves. A skill that comes from the accumulation of corpse energy, but is classified at the highest level. It is not necessary to say that it is different. The turntable started to turn. This was the most peaceful time in Lei Luo's history. No matter which prize it was, it had a great effect on him at the moment. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the SSS level reward, accumulating corpse chi and turning spirit waves. The system's voice sounded in Lei Luo's mind, followed by a pile of unpredictable words. The Island of Ghosts, the base of the beast pirates. Many guys, I think the power of the Peacemaker Alliance no longer needs me to say more. You can see the battle clearly. Aokiji said lightly. This is a cave. Apart from Gai Duo and the 3 disasters under his command, the 6 sons of Lingkong, and the remnants of the Blackbeard, it is the unconscious Aunt Charlotte Lingling who was soaked in the nutrient solution. I'm known as the strongest creature, that Lei Luo is handed over to me to deal with. You don't need to intervene, it's just Yuhi's side. You'd better not let Laozi down. After drinking the high-strength liquor from the big jug in front of him in one gulp, Guy looked back angrily at his former wife. The close relationship between Straw Hat Luffy and Yuhi the pirates is well known to the world, and now they are related to the Alliance of Peacemakers. That is to say, if you want to fight with Lei Luo, you must secretly kill the Straw Hat gang all processed. Otherwise, the already difficult alliance of peacekeepers and the Revolutionary Army, coupled with the Yuhi pirates, would have made it unnecessary to start this battle, especially the navy that was preparing to take advantage of the fishermen on the side. Don't worry, for revenge, I will personally entangle Yuhi's hair. Titch touched his painful scar. Chapter 325 CP0 Expedition _ What did you say? The Navy has gone to war with the Revolutionary Army. At the base of the Alliance of Peacekeepers, Lei Luo fell into contemplation when he heard the information collected by Gedges. According to the original plan, the Navy's action should be in the final battle. Why is this action so sudden, and no one has informed Lei Luo of this step? Leader, according to the news from the Revolutionary Army, the leader of the Navy this time is not Marshal Akainu and the 3 generals, but a newcomer named Lu Qi. Okay, you go down first and tell everyone to prepare for support. After sending Gedges away, Lei Luo walked into the underground secret room. Lu Qi, the captain of CP9, a secret service organization of the world government, is known as the strongest CP9 organization member in the past 800 years. According to the original plot, 2 years later, he scolded Akainu and made him dare not do anything. Around a small island dozens of miles away from the Revolutionary Army's main base, Baldigo, there are more than 20 large naval warships docked, and at this moment, all of them are waiting quietly. Report Sir Lu Qi, these are the Navy soldiers who quietly absconded on the way. Under a huge number, Lu Qi, dressed in a white suit and uniform, was passing the time on the pigeons on his shoulders. He just raised his head. How many people in total? 1,400 people. Get everyone to the island as well, and remember to bring your guns. After giving the instructions, Lu Qi continued to play with the pigeons on his shoulders, completely ignoring the more than 1,000 people who were bound in front of him. After a while, except for the few members who stayed behind on the naval warship, all of them appeared in front of Lu Qi and surrounded the deserters. Snapped. Suddenly, Lu Qi slapped Spandam in the face with a loud slap with his backhand. The huge brute force sent him flying and fell to the ground. In addition to the blood in his mouth, there were also a few broken Kiba teeth. Don't understand what I'm saying. Everyone. After doing all this, Lu Qi didn't have any emotional fluctuations on his face, and still waited silently in place until all the soldiers guarding the warship came here. Tie Spandam aside for me. Looking at the dying Spandam on the ground, Lu Qi raised him aside with a very disgusting kick. Next, it's time to deal with these deserters. Everyone listens and shoots. What? Shot. Killing companions is the most forbidden rule in the Navy, am I right? This is the voice of every unmoved Navy. If Marshal Akainu was present, he would at most only impose punishment on them, and would never take their lives. Boom. A gunshot suddenly sounded, a Navy soldier fell to the ground with a bang, and a large number of birds perched in the canopy of the tree flew up. Those who do not obey orders will be killed without mercy. Lu Qi, who crushed the rifle in his hand, turned around and silently retreated to one side. Bang bang bang. The next moment, the whole island was filled with the strong smell of gunpowder, which was mixed with the bloody smell that dyed the ground into a patch of fresh yuhi, and the anger that erupted from the depths of everyone's heart. You feel very uncomfortable, don't you? Lu Qi sneered and kicked Spandam over. I tell you now, the duty of the Navy is to always obey orders. Whether it is the trash under my feet or the Navy who abscond, since they violated their duty, then they are all criminals who have been raised to military status. When the words fell, Lu Qi stomped his foot violently, and Spandam's body exploded instantly, turning into a blood mist. The only proof that he had come to this time was that he rolled in front of everyone, as if he was constantly begging for detours. Eyeball. Wave. There was another soft sound, the eyeball completely burst, and everyone's eyes once again focused on Yuhi's white clothes stained with blood. I see, this is the weak, because he is weak, he will be played by the pirates, and thus unable to defend the security of the country. After witnessing the destruction of countless countries, I came to a conclusion, that is the weak soldier, without any right to survive. Instead of letting them live in the Navy as cancerous tumors, it is better to have us to end their ridiculous lives. That's right, in Lu Chi's eyes, the law of the weak is the most basic rule. Let alone fighting, the weak are not even qualified to live. Except for wasting air and food, they have no use value at all. If this is the case, then what is the weak? Dao's strength is only 9, and even Spandam, who is not as good as normal people, is weak. Those soldiers who flee without fighting are also weak. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, they have no right to choose to continue to live. You're still so extreme, Luigi. In the crowd, a man with a figure far beyond ordinary people and wearing a CP0 mask walked out slowly. Beside him, there were other members who were also wearing white suits. Are CP1 CP9 finished in a hurry? Lu Chi did not answer the questions of the visitors, but asked them. Well, they're all here. Very good. Little Lu Chi, there seem to be a few little mice in your navy. CP0, a young woman with short blonde hair suddenly giggled. The next moment, I saw the woman lift her slender fingers towards Lu Chi's position. Looking at the posture, this seems to be the finger gun in the Navy's 6th style. Without any warning, several soldiers in the Navy with their heads bowed tightly covered their throats with their hands, but even so, they could not stop the blood spurting out. Your daggers are getting scarier, Stussy. That's right, this Jinfin woman is one of the most powerful emperors in the Dark World, an old monster Stussy who calls her Aunt Shaolingaling and has lived for an unknown amount of time. Haha, are you making fun of me? It took me decades to figure out this trick, but you've only mastered it in one morning. I'm just a girl, and you're terrifying. Stussy smiled slightly, and what he said shocked all the navies present. It was unbelievable that she didn't leave any traces on her face for decades, but Lu Chi learned this unpredictable trick, and it took only one morning. Could this be the legendary CP0? Is it scary? Since everyone is here, stop talking nonsense and start the war. When the words fell, Lu Chi walked towards the warship alone. What the Admiral dares not do, and those who dare not kill, will be done by CP today, and the CP will kill. Chapter 326 See you again. In the basement of the Alliance of Peacekeepers base, Lei Luo kept dialing the phone bugs in front of him, but found that no one answered, which made him have an ominous premonition in his heart. Senior Carp, tell me what happened to the Admiralty. After a long time, someone finally answered the phone bug, and Lei Luo also let out a sigh of relief, but soon, his face became gloomy again because of the voice from another part of the microphone. Lei Luo, the current navy has been completely taken over by CP0. As for Marshal Akainu and the teacher, they are under house arrest by the world government in Marijoa. This is Kirby's voice. Kirby, how many people did Lu Chi take away, and where are you now? All the navies. Besides, you have to pay more attention. It seems that guy wants to launch more attacks on you. Before Kirby could speak, the call was suddenly hung up. At this moment, there is no need to know too much. Even if it is guessing, Lei Luo has already guessed the answer. The world government is about to destroy the Revolutionary Army and the Alliance of Peacemakers, two forces that threaten their righteous status. Rumbling, The sudden vibration of the ground and the rolling heat wave that kept coming from the top of the head instantly aroused Lei Luo's premonition, the beast pirates, here we come. At this moment, in the gloomy sky, flames and hurricanes were constantly spewing from the mouth of a dark blue dragon with a length of several hundred meters. It was an attack that was comparable to a natural disaster and could not be countered by manpower. The current Peacekeepers Alliance, because more and more territories have been invested in it to find shelter, except for a few core members in the headquarters base, there are actually not many fighting members. In other words, the invasion of the 100 Beasts pirates, on the surface, was a deep dive into the tiger's den, but it actually hit the snakes 7 inches hard, which was the deadliest part. Lei Luo, come out quickly and die. In the air, Perospero, who was holding a candy cane, drank it violently, and beside him stood the 3 calamities, the 2 generals, Shiryu of the Rain and Poison Q, and the 6 sons of the sky. Hey, last time my boss respected that glutinous rice man with affection and righteousness, and let you go. Is this how you treat your benefactor? I Nilu, who was wearing the sacred clothes, smiled disdainfully. Apart from the giant dragon above his head, the only thing that could make people feel threatened was the tall man with jet black wings and no skin on his body exposed to the air. This guy is definitely not easy. HMPH, just say whatever you like now. Next year today, I will definitely come here again and give you all the Jinchuriki column incense. Perospero laughed, the reason why they chose to take the initiative to attack, all because someone provided them with the distribution map of all the top leaders of the Peacemaker Alliance. Call out. A laser light appeared from nowhere, and the speed was so fast that no one could sense time at all, and its target was exactly Perospero's thin throat. What? He actually took the boss's attack. Not only Anilu, but even Master Yi, who has always been calm, could hardly hide his inner shock at this moment. The man who sprang out like a ghost from the beast pirates actually disintegrated Lei Luo's attack in one fell swoop. Who is he? Whether it is a navy or a pirate, all-powerful people have long been deeply imprinted in their minds by Anilu and Master Yi. This man with ordinary clothes and appearance has never appeared before. Ghost akin. Lei Luo stepped forward slowly, with a hint of suspicion in his voice. We haven't met. Why do you know the pseudonym I used to be in the East China Sea? Yes. At that moment, Lei Luo was stunned. He never imagined that the little pirate who met Luffy when he recruited Sanji, the little pirate who left a message of meeting in the New World, would actually be in this kind of place. Under such circumstances, showing such terrifying strength. Young governor, the governor has instructed you not to do anything if you can, even if the person in front of you is the one who made your mother such an enemy. The black-winged man who made Anilu feel a little dangerous said with concern. Jin, don't worry, I will pay attention. Ajin nodded to Jin. According to the conversation between the two of them, it seemed that the former had some kind of hidden disease. No, young master, could it be said that this Jin is Guy's child? Wait a minute, no one in the Alliance of Peacekeepers has destroyed a single family recently, so why the word, enemy? Could it be that Jin's mother is an aunt who belongs to one of the 4 emperors? Thinking of this, Lei Luo looked at Jin with a hint of deep fear. Boom! With the deafening dragon roar, a cloud of skyfire suddenly descended in front of Lei Luo. You're the Lei Luo who hurt Ling Ling like that. Guy, who turned into a giant dragon in the air, opened his mouth one more time, and a kingly breath that perfectly blended anger and killing intent instantly enveloped the entire Peacemaker Alliance base, and a firm idea was born in the hearts of everyone on Lei Luo's side. In terms of more than Guy, and is even worse by half, and as for Tick, at least a full level difference. This was the most powerful enemy they had ever seen. What about me, and what if it's not me? Looking at the fire in front of the sky that easily burned the rocks, Lei Luo sneered. It's just that the two sides haven't fought yet, the reason for the 100 Beasts pirates is unclear, and Lei Luo is waiting for the return of other fighting forces. However, Lei Luo's strategy seems to be seen through by Perospero at a glance. How old is Guy? He has a group of cadres in special armors under his command. Those people may not be very strong, but when they wear armors, at least they can completely abuse the 6 sons of Linkong under your command. Having said this, Perospero turned his head and glanced at Lei Luo contemptuously. In addition, I heard that Lei Luo also has a trick called the 8 Inner Gates, a powerful trick that once hurt the naval hero Garp. Hearing this, even a fool would understand that there are spies in the Navy, and even in the Revolutionary Army and the Peacemaker Alliance, there will be such little mice. Right now, For the 100 Beast Pirates, it is the best time to annihilate the Peacemaker Alliance. Once all their high-level officials return, the outcome of this battle will be unknown. A trick that can hurt Garp. Kid, you'd better use that trick directly, fighting for a few seconds for your lifespan. Although Guy's words were very sarcastic, he did not directly order the action. This scene made Perospero and others anxious. At this moment, Jin gave Perospero a blank look, and Arkin sat directly on the ground very casually. Chapter 327-King and King. Guy Duo. A moody, suicidal pervert maniac. In his eyes, he never used more to bully the less, only one to fight against many, and the stronger the opponent, the better. Perospero's words are indeed reminding Guy that now is the best time to attack, but what he did not expect is that it is precisely because of these words that Guy is more determined to wait for all the officers of the Peacemaker Alliance to return. Idea. Lei Luo, let's talk. After a long silence, Jin suddenly spoke up. Let's talk. What are we talking about? As you said, the two of us have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Facing Jin's sudden approach, Lei Luo couldn't understand what he was thinking. Talking about you and me, I'm afraid I'll kill you, so let's talk about what peace is. Talk about peace. You are a pirate, and you are also the child of the two pirate emperors on this dignified sea. What qualifications do you have to mention these two words? Hey, I don't care what kind of gold or what kind of silver you are. Fight if you want, don't be in this mother-in-law, like a bitch. Before Lei Luo could speak, Anilu bore the brunt. He has learned armament hockey and the 8 inner gates. In addition to the blessing of the underworld Saint Cloth, he has unprecedented confidence in his own strength. Even if the other party is a powerful being who looks ordinary, Anilu also believes that he is absolutely will not be defeated. With the help of Anilu to attract Ajin's attention, Master Yi took the opportunity to exchange ideas with Lei Luo. Father, how about handing this person to me? In the face of Anilu's provocation, Akin did not fight back directly, but looked up at the giant dragon in the air. As long as you pay attention to your body, the rest is up to you. Thank you, my father. After getting Guy's more condolences, Jin just smiled at Anilu. So fast. Before the smile disappeared from his eyes, a pair of strangely shaped iron crutches were wrapped by armament hockey and landed on Anilu's chest. El Nilu, little. It all happened so fast that Lei Luo could see everything clearly, but he didn't finish his reminder. It was over. PFF'd. Anilu, who took a full 7 steps to stabilize his body, spit out the bloody phlegm from his mouth, and his face also showed an unprecedented solemnity. This time, the opponent is so fast that even observation hockey can't catch it, and he has such terrifying brute force. It seems that he has finally found an opponent who can measure his true level. The 8 inner gates, the 7th gate, the shock gate, open. Anilu glared angrily, and his whole body was instantly enveloped in blue arrogance. Even if he stood there motionless, no one would doubt the incomparably overbearing power in his body. Looking down at all of this, Guy is full of excitement on his face. He is also curious about the ultimate fighting power that Lei Luo can show later, and even now he can't control the idea of killing Lei Luo. Yes, you really have the qualifications to say what you just said. Seeing the strength of Anilu who has entered the complete body, even Jin, the leader of the 3 disasters, frowned, secretly thinking about whether he could defeat him. However, instead of being shocked at all, Jin's eyes were full of approval, and he even applauded, expressing his approval for Anilu. PFF'd. However, before Jin could say anything, the severe pain in front of his lower abdomen made it difficult for him to maintain a standing posture, and he knelt on the ground with his waist bowed. So weak. Did he not hide his strength? Not to mention Lei Luo and others, even Perospero and Shiliu of the Rain began to doubt Akin's strength. With the blood of 2 emperors, this man who can easily defuse Lei Luo's attack is just a faker unparalleled. Obviously, only the 3 disasters really know Akatsuki. Look at it, don't blink, he. Epidemic disaster. Quinn smiled very sly, and there was a deep hidden fear under the smile, especially when there was a laughter from Ajin's body, which was obviously panting due to the severe pain, the expression on his face. The smile disappeared completely. Blood. This is my blood. I haven't seen such a beautiful thing in a long time, and in return, I'm going to kill you. When Ajin raised his head again, there was not fresh yuhi, but a strange green liquid hanging from the palm of his hand and the corner of his mouth. That was his blood, which was completely different from everyone's blood. Roar. A high-pitched roar full of chills came from Ajin's voice, which lasted for a long time without dissipating. At first, it was a human voice, and after a few seconds, it became a bit non-human, and then it gradually became like a monster's roar. Finally, it completely became a pure tiger roar, a white tiger roaring above everything. At that moment, Senbai's thick hair grew out of Ajin's body at an extremely fast speed, and on his forehead, there was a king formed by golden hair exuding supreme domineering aura. Animal fruit. Mythical white tiger fruit. Analu, don't be too arrogant, hide your trump card, or you will regret it later. Lei Luo spoke hastily. The white tiger is one of the 4 holy beasts. Apart from anything else, Ajin will definitely become more and more courageous and become stronger in battle while he is in the fruit form. If he can't solve the battle in a short time, he will definitely grow to a terrifying level. A point where even Lei Luo wasn't sure he could beat him. Hearing Lei Luo's urging for Analu, Jin couldn't help frowning, because Lei Luo's conjecture was completely correct. Ajin's fruit ability will indeed make him endlessly stronger, but this comes at a price. The unstoppable fighting consciousness and growing power will erode his consciousness incessantly. The reason why the people from the Beast Pirates asked Ajin to pay attention to his body was not because he had been injured and had hidden illnesses that had not been cured, but because Ajin, who had burst out with all his strength last time, had gone completely mad and was dominated by killing intent. The body, even if there are many guys, must be assisted by the ant to defeat Ajin without hurting him. Originally, I didn't plan to reveal this trick so early, but since you have said so, boss, then I won't hide it. When the words fell, the wings of the underworld saint cloth on the back of Analu shook, and the endless thunder crashed down from the dark clouds in the air, all gathered in his body. 1 billion volts thunder Garuda. The thunder light dissipated, and when Analu appeared in front of everyone again, he was more like a bird because of the thunder outside his body and the sacred clothing, rather than a human being, a strange bird that eats dragons in mythology. King Garuda. Chapter 328-Garuda vs. White Tiger. Garuda, also known as the golden-winged Dapung bird, can easily reach 90,000 miles with a shake of its wings. Looking at Anilu, who was rubbing Ajin on the ground with an almost absolute speed advantage in front, Lei Luo smiled with relief. The current strength of this kid, even if he encounters a general. What a terrifying speed. What a domineering blow. This kind of destructive power and speed is probably only comparable to light in the world. Different from Lei Luo, others are extremely shocked in their hearts. No one thought that this little-known newcomer, Anilu, would be like his leader Lei Luo, and his debut was the pinnacle. At this moment, the sky and the earth suddenly gusted, and the wind blades were sharp and unparalleled, and they all attacked Analu's life gate from a very tricky angle. Boom! The overflowing sword energy spread out from Master Yi's body, which was also invisible but contained terrifying power. Hey, this is a battle between the two of them, watch it honestly. In the face of the reprimand from Master Yi, Yan Zonjin's eyes sank, the black clothes covering the whole body gradually transformed into the appearance of the skin, and the hands and feet turned into sharp claws. How could he choose to stand idly by when his own young master was beaten so badly? Roar! However, just as Jin Venerable made his move, the white tiger Ajin, who was suppressed by the thunder on the ground, suddenly raised his head, and when a dissatisfied roar came from his mouth, an extremely cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. The target is directly at Jin. This is a battle between the two men, between Ajin and Anilu. No matter who it is, even if it is his own father, Gai Duo, Ajin will never allow any interference. Jin, who was stopped from shooting, snorted at Master Yi, and honestly returned to his human form, because at this time, Jin's breath not only did not decay, but instead got an inexplicable improvement. Roar! Another low beast roar rang out from Jin's throat. At that moment, his originally white hair stood on end, and all the wounds on his body healed quickly at a speed visible to the naked eye, with thick black hair. Cover it all. With the black and white hair and the king character on his forehead, it seems that Jin at this time is more like the white tiger, the king of beasts. The defense has actually doubled several times. Seeing that his offensive was unable to achieve any effect on Jin for a while, Anilu instantly understood why Lei Luo wanted him to use all his strength in the first place. The opponent in front of him is simply a monster that becomes stronger when it encounters it. Lei Yuan Qianyu sword. I just heard a bang, and thousands of thunders mixed with golden feathers condensed in the palm of Anilu. A strange long sword made of thunder and covered with dense feathers appeared in the crowd. In front of you. Swish. The long sword fell, and the slash that looked like thunder but was not thunder ripped apart the space in the blink of an eye and arrived in front of Jin. At this time, with the corner of Anilu's mouth slightly raised, the slash was divided into 1,000, and he escaped into it without a trace with the help of the space crack left before. That's it. An extremely absurd idea was born in the hearts of everyone. Is this move by Anilu just for intimidation? Suddenly, before the thought disappeared, within a 10-meter radius around Jin, whether it was in the sky or the ground, there were falling feathers, and the dazzling thunderlight was quite beautiful. Remember, real danger is always hidden behind a beautiful exterior. Roar! The colorful feathers collided, and countless invisible slashes mixed with thunder fell on Jin's body, and the painful roar came out of his mouth again. Fight back, little governor. Three Calamities clenched his fists secretly, looked at Jin who was once again ripped apart in front of him, and kept urging in his heart. Fight back. How? Anilu's speed can reach 90,000 li in one breath. In addition, his combat area is very smart in choosing the air that he is best at. Jin, who has not learned the moon step, how can he fight back? Can't fight back, can't you just sit still? Do not. Roar. Just as Anilu raised the Lei Yuan Qianyu sword again, Jin saw the opportunity to open his mouth and roar. Endless killing intent and high fighting spirit were perfectly blended together, and then he used sound waves to tightly surround Anilu's body. At this moment, Anilu felt like he was in a quagmire, and his actions gradually became difficult. Sure enough, tiger-type creatures can do this trick. In Lei Luo's memory, no matter which world a powerful creature like the white tiger appeared in, there must be an unpredictable means of sonic attack. As for why he didn't remind Anilu in advance. If he couldn't deal with even a little emergency, what qualifications would he have to be called a strong man? Clap clap clap. The dazzling thunder burst out from Anilu's body, and the blue arrogance that originally appeared because of the 8 inner gates rose into the sky, and the sound wave was dissipated in one fell swoop. Kill. What happened? An indifferent voice suddenly appeared in his mind, causing Anilu's body to suddenly burst, because at this moment, the sound wave that was scattered by him actually solidified again, turning into a bloody Yuhi killing word, blocking him. In front of. And Jin, who had already rushed over, the sharp claws that shone with metal light wanted to tear everything apart. Wave tilde. The two ruthless forces collided, Yu Wei turned into a hurricane and swept away in all directions, and the ground beneath the two shattered inch by inch, spreading like a spider web. At the same time, a mixed black and white Yuhi 3 colors the figure suddenly fell to the ground, smashing a deep pit in front of everyone. In the final analysis, the air was still Garuda's home ground, and the white tiger's offensive only broke out, and the follow-up was insufficient. Understood. Lei Yujian one-shaped thunderbolt feather falling flash. Deeply felt the terror of Jin, Anilu no longer had any hold of his hand, the long sword in his hand was taken back to his waist, there was no more frightening power in the air, only a piece of gold and the feathers fell slowly, attracting everyone's attention. 20 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter. At the moment when the golden feather fell into the deep pit, Nilu appeared in the hand of the sword-drawing II. Boom boom boom. The heaven and earth that finally fell silent were once again replaced by the roar of falling thunder, and almost 1,000 sturdy thunders fell from the 9 heavens, just like the light of day, illuminating everything in an instant. After a long time, the thunder light dissipated, and everyone's eyes were still in a state of panic, but even so, it did not affect their perception that the previous chilling aura still dissipated with the thunder light. Damn, the power of this move is still not enough. Just as Anilu muttered, a pair of Yuhi's eyes appeared in the deep pit. Chapter 329 _ Go to War. Damn, the power is still a little bit worse. Looking at the pair of orangutan Yuhi who appeared in the deep pit below, his eyes flashing with madness and ferociousness, Anilu's face sank, he raised his hand and punched again, and the tiger roared out. Next, a different scene appeared. The Day Tiger, who was supposed to be brave, actually showed panic and exploded when he was only 1 meter away from the deep pit. After all, the Day Tiger is still a mortal tiger. He can be the king among the beasts in the world, but he can't be mad in front of the holy beast, especially the opponent is the ultimate source of his own evolution. Lei Ugnc-shaped Shenyu Furious Thunder Slash. The long sword in Enilu's hand flew straight into the sky, and the already gloomy sky was even more thunderous, and countless feathers fell like petals. Not a bad trick. In the air, Guy in the form of a dragon looked at the faint white marks that appeared on his scales, and a flash of excitement flashed in his eyes when he looked at Anilu. Perhaps, this kid's follow-up tricks can achieve the power to break through his own defense and make himself injured. As the feathers fell, thunder and thunder followed closely. The two were perfectly integrated, and finally condensed into a delicate slash that fell into a deep pit. This blow seems extremely slow, but it takes more than 1 second, even half a second is not enough. Swish. What? How could this be? He's still evolving. This form, even the last time the Admiral took action, has never been seen before. Beneath the deep pit, a pair of gorilla Yuhi's wings, like blood condensed, suddenly stretched out, turning into 2 big hands, and they blocked Enilu's blow with their bare hands. The next moment, the big hand slammed violently, and the slash that was dyed in blood Yuhi turned around at an extreme speed, approaching the master Enilu. Boom. One person made the sharp claws fall to the ground. Guy looked at his dragon claws more, then glanced at Anilu who had just appeared in front of him, and now he has returned to the same place, and the excitement in his eyes became more and more rampant. Someone can hurt that monster Guy. An abrupt voice sounded, and everyone raised their hands to see that it was a giant steel bird surrounded by black flames, with 3 sparrow tails floating in the wind at its tail. After a while, the black bird landed, and the 2 daughters Tina and Reiju stepped down from it. The next one to die is you. He didn't even wait for the black bird to reveal his identity. Ajin, who had not spoken for a long time, smiled heehily, and he, who had jumped out of the deep pit at some point, in the big mouth under the eyes with a mixture of killing intent and fighting intent, it is a pair of snow-white Kiba. Brother-in-law, who is that kid? Believe it or not, I'll kick him to death now. That's right, the person who came was Sanji who was wearing the sacred robe of Bennu Tortoise. This is Enilu's battle, we don't have to intervene. By the way, what about Luffy and the others? The Revolutionary Army was suddenly attacked by the Navy, Luffy and everyone went to support, and I received news from my sister and temporarily separated from them. Then it seems that this surprise can only be told to him when we meet next time. Lei Luo suddenly smiled mysteriously, even Tina and Lei Ju couldn't guess what the surprise in his mouth would be. Which bastard doesn't have eyes and dares to invade Lao Su's headquarters? At this moment, a thick cloud of white smoke floated up, and behind it, there were several ships, and all the peacemakers on the deck were wearing initial combat uniforms. That fellow smoker came quite fast. Seeing the solid figure, even in the face of the 4 emperors Guy, who never took a step back, Lei Luo smiled. The current smoker, who has acquired the 8 inner gates and Konoha's katana, plus observation haki and armament haki, diligence, has achieved a leap in strength, reaching the point where he is infinitely close to a general. Hey, smoker, don't show your abs all day long and make it look like our league is so poor, then. After Master Yi complained a few words, he threw an ethereal glove towards the smoker. Hee, Lao Tzu's heavenly dark star, smoke demon, and underworld saint cloth has finally been created. Taking the gloves, smoker laughed happily. Boss Jinbei went to Ball's brother to support him, so I brought the Sun Pirates. Fuck, Smog's underworld cloth is so handsome. Xiaoba, who had just arrived at the base, looked at Smog who was already wearing a battle armor in the air, and looked at Lei Luo with envy written all over his face. It's just a pity that Lei Luo does have a set of unowned underworld sacred clothes in his hand, but it was prepared for Gedges after his strength reached the level of a general, and Xiaoba didn't have the chance to get it. Xiaoba, don't be sad, we don't have any. After the leaders of all parties of the Peacemaker Alliance gathered one after another, they all stood behind Lei Luo, waiting for the leader to start the battle. Boom! At this moment, the dragon shadow in the sky roared and changed, and a burly man the size of a hill appeared in front of everyone. A Jin who is inseparable. And this person is the captain of the 100 Beast Pirates, one of the 4 emperors, the Beast Guy. I should have gotten rid of this pervert sooner. Analu, who fell behind Lei Luo, complained. You are all together. After a long period of silence, seeing that no one was approaching on the island, Guy spoke more slowly. He has been waiting for this moment for a long time. Almost there. Glancing at the cadres behind him, Lei Luo nodded. In that case, let's go to war. Guy raised his head and roared a lot. The moment he let go of his palm, Ah Jin, who was constantly emitting animal roars, grinned grimly, and his body shot out like a cannonball and approached Analu. You are afraid of you when you are a father. Feeling that he was being provoked, Analu also held the Lei Yuan Thousand Feather Sword to face him. Hey, the old man with the sword. Jin called Master Yi frivolously, but the only response to him was the unparalleled Wuji sword chi. The two of them have long been uncomfortable looking at each other. Sanji Kurozu, Drought Jack is handed over to you. Smog in the air didn't talk nonsense at all, and directly chose the strongest among the rest, Plague Quinn, one of the 3 plagues of the Beast Pirates. Of course, if Yan Zhao hadn't shot, his target would not be Quinn. Since the first batch of personnel in the battle, the remaining troops on both sides are naturally not to be outdone, roaring and rushing towards the opposing camp. Tina and Leiju caressed the ring on their hands, and their bodies were instantly covered by the sacred clothes, and they greeted the Juice Minister Smoji and the Biscuit Minister Keligia. Perospero, I will not give you any chance to set up the battle. The air beside Perospero suddenly exploded, and it was just a snap of Gurge's fingers. Chapter 330 The Shock of Lei Luo, the Soulless Person. Yax, Xiaoba, you two will lead the troops to deal with the 6 Sons of the Sky and others. Leave Shiliu of the Rain and Poison Q to us white-bearded remnants. The two sides quickly fought together completely, and only Lei Luo and Gai Duo, who were the leaders, remained silently standing in the same place, without any intention of taking any action. At this moment, Yuhi made the island where the pirates are located. Yuhifa, what relationship do you have with the 5 old stars? A man dressed as a clown who looked very funny grabbed the collar of the dignified Yuhi-haired Shanks and scolded angrily. In the face of such provocation, Shanks didn't even make a move, and even the cadres behind him retreated with a wry smile, even if the other party came alone. Bucky, calm down, let's sit down and have a good talk. Why do we have to do it as soon as we come up? Yuhi let out a laugh, not showing any signs of anger, but constantly comforting the man in front of him. That's right, the person who came is Bucky the Clown, one of the 7 Wuhei under the current king. Sit down and talk. I'm not in the mood to have a good chat with you. The world government has always been a place that Captain Roger hates, and as a person who inherited the captain's legacy, you actually have a secret connection with the 5 old stars. How can I tell me to calm down? After the words fell, the Conqueror's Haki whistling out of Bucky's body was like a substance, constantly impacting everyone's hearts. At the same time, with him as the center, everything around was cracked, and the gap was as smooth as a mirror. High-level Conqueror's Haki plus the awakening of Devil Fruit ability, this is Bucky's true strength. Perhaps in the eyes of the world, Bucky is just a clown who jumps off the beam. He is weak and pitiful. The only thing worth noting is that he was once a trainee on Roger's ship. However, for this Yuhifa's close friend, only seniors such as Rayleigh and Yuhifa pirates know that this clown who makes fun of everyone is pretending, and his combat power has never been slower than Yuhifa's. As for what was defeated by Luffy who had just left the sea, whoever was present did not know, it was just acting. For this kid who was chosen by his best friend, it is Bucky's real purpose to escort him after testing, otherwise why would he always appear on the road of the Straw Hats in the early stage? You should remember the opponent rocks that the captain and Garp defeated at that time. As the name rocks came out of Yuhi's mouth, Bucky froze for a moment, then let go of the hands that were gripping his collar tightly, and motioned Yuhi to continue speaking. I got the news that he is not dead yet, and is now hiding among the celestial dragons. What? Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? You pretended to be crazy and sold stupid, and after a lot of hard work, you got into the Navy. If I go to you, won't your plan be forfeited? Speaking of which, Yuhi gave Bucky a whitish look before continuing. But then again, how is your intelligence collection going? What is the ultimate goal of the world government? It is related to the 3 ancient weapons. At present, the Pluto battleship is hidden in the capital of 7 waters. The Sea King is not a weapon, but the mermaid princess Bakesing. As for the last king. After some conversation, Bucky and Yuhifa's faces turned serious. It seems that we need to go to the Revolutionary Army and the Peacemaker Alliance to win over allies. After a little thought, Yuhi revealed his plan. Ga. Coincidentally, the carrier pigeon of Bucky Express was flying at this moment, and the situation of falling on it made Bucky's face change suddenly. Shanks, don't act rashly. The world government and the Navy have taken over the Navy, and privately contacted the Beast Pirates to launch an attack on the Revolutionary Army and the Peacemaker Alliance. Peacemaker Alliance Base. The battle between the two sides has always been in a state of glue-like paint, and it is impossible to tell the winner in a short time. The 100 Beasts Pirates have a slight advantage in high-level combat power due to the superiority of the number of cadres. On the other hand, the Peacemaker Alliance gains an advantage in lower-level operations due to the increased holdings of all combat uniforms. That is to say, in the current battlefield, as long as one side wins the high-level or low-level battle of the two sides, the battle situation will tend to be one-sided, until the two leaders who will decide the final outcome are completely divided. Little Devil, this place is too small to be able to use it. What do you think of replacing you with an empty island as a tomb? Guy sneered a little more, as he already had a definition of the final outcome of this battle. Not to mention other things, just the battle between him and Lei Luo, Guy admits that he can't beat the peak powerhouses such as Whitebeard, Roger and Carp in their heydays, but he is confident that they can't kill him either. Lei Luo may also have the fighting strength of the 4 emperors, but in this respect, it is enough to judge the level of the two. How do I feel? Why don't I take you somewhere? After the words fell, a faint blue phosphorus fire appeared in the palm of Lei Luo's palm. With a wave of his hand, all the surrounding scenes completely disappeared, replaced by a lifeless area, Yomatsu Hirasaka. Is that why you and Ling Ling suddenly disappeared? Looking at the unfamiliar scene around him, Guy, who couldn't feel the breath of his subordinates, did not panic at all, but smiled calmly. This is because of his confidence in Ah Jin. Also, it is precisely because of the special ability of Ah Jin's fruit that Lei Luo, who was worried about what might happen, did not choose to have a head-to-head confrontation with Guy, which the latter is best at, but came to Yomatsu Hirasaka. The invincible immortality exists in the flesh. Can your soul also be immortal? Accumulate corpse gas and burn the soul. Lei Luo glared angrily. Guy Duo, who was a few meters away, suddenly surrounded by blue flames. This is a flame that ignores the body and directly attacks the soul. It is the nemesis of all souls and the dead. 1 second, 2 seconds. A minute. A full 60 seconds passed, and Lei Luo's expression became solemn. Even the ant may not be able to hold on to the flame for a minute, which seems to have no effect on Guy Duo. Wait a minute, something doesn't seem right. Lei Luo, who noticed a little abnormality, directly opened the Sharingan of 9 Tomo Samsara, but when he opened his eyes to explore Guy's body, the solemnity and confusion on his face turned into shock. Guy has no soul. Have you finally found it? Looking at Lei Luo's never-before-seen appearance, Guy smiled disdainfully. He, who has survived countless ways of dying, has not tried to directly make his soul fly away. It's just that I'm sorry. Guy's soul, which is different from ordinary people, is born and completely integrated with his body. Chapter 331-1 One-word cut. The body and soul are completely integrated. In Lei Luo's long-term memory, this situation seems to only appear in the fantasy world of immortal cultivators, and it is unique to the body cultivator. Now, in the comic world of pirates, there is such a terrifying existence. Lei Luo knew very well that if he wanted to defeat Guy Moore, he only needed absolute suppression of force, but if he wanted to kill him, he had to destroy all his flesh, not even a piece of flesh and blood. So this is the secret of your immortality. When the words fell, Lei Luo stared at the moment when Guy was sneering, and the dark flame instantly crossed the space, covering Guy's right arm, burning roaringly. Amaterasu. This move, which is accustomed to the title of the strongest physical attack, originates from the black flame inside the sun. Ignoring any attribute restraint, the only way to extinguish it is to burn out all the targets of the caster. What if you don't die? The flames of Amaterasu will never cease. Swish. A burst of wind sounded. Even Lei Luo never thought that Guy Duo would be so ruthless and decisive. Seeing that he could not extinguish the black flame, he cut off his right arm decisively. Looking at the arm that was gradually burned to ashes on the ground, Guy didn't show any expression, as if the arm had nothing to do with him by nature. Hey, next, it's your other one. Poof. Just when Lei Luo was about to release Amaterasu again, the sudden domineering brute force in his abdomen knocked him off in one fell swoop, leaving a long line of black flame mixed with blood in the air. However, before Lei Luo could take action, the rough black shadow that was coming from him smashed onto his body again and again, and the original majestic hill disappeared completely after a few seconds. It turns out that you only relied on your special ability to defeat Lingling, weak chicken. Bah! A mouthful of thick phlegm spit out from Guy's mouth, but just as he was about to land, a dazzling golden light suddenly flashed, and a figure crossed the space and punched him in the chest. Damn it, it's cool to hammer me, isn't it? The golden light dissipated, revealing Lei Luo's furious face. At this time, his whole body was covered in blood, and he was in an unprecedented embarrassment. Many things can only be understood after experience. Just like Lei Luo now, he understands why Luffy was killed by Guy with one more Thunder 8 trigrams. This fleshly body burst out with pure power, and even the peaks of Yomatsu Hirasaka could be shattered. You must know that the material here is several times harder than the mortal world. Wizard Godzilla Sage Mode, Susanoo, God and Buddha State, Open. Facing an opponent of Guy Duo's level, Lei Luo will never keep his hands, and this is not because of how strong Guy is, but because he is really motivated to kill. Guy, who took a few steps back to stabilize his figure, looked at the behemoth that appeared in front of him. Not only did he not have any fear, but instead had an extremely hideous and crazy look on his face. It's this feeling of being life-threatening, that's what I've been chasing for decades. Little devil, you surprised me, so get ready to be crushed to death by me. I saw Guy's complexion sank, and the smooth wound on the right shoulder began to wriggle rapidly, and a brand new arm actually grew out like this. With an invincible body coupled with a super self-healing ability and a decisive personality, Amaterasu seemed to have a tall and powerful character in an instant and became a weak chicken. Dragonoid form, activate. Boom, boom, boom. A powerful heartbeat came from Guy's chest. At this time, he constantly exhaled this rich white air with high temperature from his nose and mouth, and the surface of the bulging muscles around his body was covered with scales. No, I can't let him complete his transformation. Sensing that Guy Duo's power in his body seemed to continue to rise at the moment, Leiluo waved his hand, and the sacred sword of Hades appeared in his hand. It was an ordinary iron sword that was pitch black, clean and bright, without any impurities, but it was this sword that once fought the 9 realms, defeated countless powerful men who made the world tremble, and helped Hades achieve the prestige of Hades. You can force me to use this sword, you are worthy of pride. Leiluo sneered, although the iron sword in his hand was just an imitation forged by Gage using Zanpakuto Hirenmaru, but its power is by no means comparable to that of ordinary magical weapons. One word cut. The fully armed Leiluo jumped up, and the unpretentious iron sword in his hand just waved lightly. Ice, dark flame, golden light, atomic light. At that moment, a slash that contained almost all of Leiluo's abilities appeared in the air. There were tens of thousands of ways, and the terrifying power emanating from it made even the space tremble. The next moment, tens of thousands of sword chi turned into light and returned to the iron sword, and everything still looked so ordinary. Walk in the void. With a flash of purple light, Leiluo's figure had passed through numerous space nodes and appeared behind Guy Duo. Cut. A sword fell without any sound. The unpretentious iron sword, the unremarkable slashing, and the final silence, all of which seemed to have no destructive power at all. At this moment, Guy's many transformations are still completed. Now, he is like a dragon made of steel, standing majestically in front of Leiluo. Is proof of strength. Little devil, is this your trick? It's not as good as your punch just now. When the words fell, Guy's right hand, which was as fast as a ghost, slammed out, and pinched Leiluo in his hand. Previously, Guy and Leiluo in their normal state were like giants and ordinary people, and they are still the same now. In the setting of Pirate World, although body size cannot represent everything, it is a symbol of strength and defense. There are many Guys at the moment, and it is indeed worthy of the name of the strongest creature in the world. However, did Leiluo's previous sword really have no destructive power? Blast. Leiluo raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and slowly spit out a word. Boom boom boom. In the blink of an eye, the muscles on Guy's body suddenly bulged, and in addition to the sound of the powerful heart beating, there was more of an endless roar. One is a one-word slash. One sword turns 10,000 swords, 10,000 swords return to one sword, one is 10,000, 10,000 is one. The sword energy permeates the body, from the inside to the outside. This is the subtlety of this trick. PFF'd. With the wanton destruction and explosion of the sword chi in his body, Guy's scales and armor seeped out the blood he described, and in his mouth, it was already filled with blood. Destroy the inside first, then destroy the outside. The myth of immortality will definitely come to an end. Chapter 332-Desperate Trick. Guy, who threw Leiluo to one side with his backhand, fell to his knees on the ground, and his fists swung due to severe pain left one deep hole after another on the ground. It's all like this, but it still has such a strong destructive power. Looking at the mad-like guys in front of him, Leiluo frowned slightly. For some reason, he always had an ominous premonition that grew in his heart. Ah! On the ground, Guy's huge rolling body twitched violently, and then a roar resounded in the sky, and the pain from the broken internal organs turned into sharp swords, constantly stimulating his brain. Don't waste the opportunity like this. Leiluo's heart became stronger and stronger, and the underworld holy clothes that locked his head suddenly opened, and an atomic breath with an extremely destructive aura surged out of his mouth, almost reaching Guy's head. Atomic breath, Godzilla's ultimate trick, the king of monsters, is that it condenses all the nuclear energy in his body, compresses it to the extreme, and ejects a beam of destruction. The power is enough to obliterate everything into the most basic atomic form. What actually escaped? I don't know if it was a coincidence or what. Guy, who had already been bleeding from the 7 orifices, rolled over and passed the atomic breath, and the land under him completely dissipated, not even the dust. Leave. Woo tilde. At this moment, the sound of the explosion in Guy Duo's body finally ended, and a long, rough breath was slowly exhaled from his mouth. That's what it feels like, cool. Guy Duo, who got up from the ground, shouted, if it wasn't for the large and small wounds on his body that hadn't healed, Lei Luo really would have wondered whether his one word / really had no destructive power. The internal organs are broken and immortal, which is obviously beyond human cognition. But this is Guy Duo, an undead monster, a monster who takes suicide for fun. Dragon Hot Cannon. While Lei Luo was shocked, Guy was more than a bow, and landed on all fours like a beast. The terrifying high temperature continued to emanate from his mouth, and the fire became brighter and brighter. Boom. When the flames condensed to the ultimate, Guy's entire body turned dozens of meters away due to the anti-shock force, and a terrifying heat breath that was 100 feet long shot out, approaching Lei Luo. What the hell? At this moment, Lei Luo understood why he had an ominous premonition in his heart before. The destructive power contained in Guy's many tricks was even greater than that of the eruption of the big underwater volcano. In the face of such a devastating move, even if it is as strong as Lei Luo, he would not dare to choose a hard shake easily. Central Asian Hourglass. Ding! The breath of heat flies by, no grass grows wherever it goes, and even the space is faintly broken. In the air of Yomatsu Hirasaka, there is only a figure made of gold, floating alone. What kind of trick is this? Why did it block my ultimate trick so easily? Although Guy Duo, who was slumped on the ground due to collapse, was shocked in his heart, but years of combat experience were constantly forcing him to maintain inner peace, take all the time to absorb the energy around him, and replenish his previous consumption. 2.5 seconds, the golden light on Lei Luo's body flashed away. Looking at the desolate surroundings around him, he swallowed subconsciously. If it weren't for the bug-level life-saving artifact like the Central Asian Hourglass, I'm afraid that my current self would almost become a scum. For a time, Guy was so powerless to fight again, and Lei Luo, who couldn't completely destroy him, was helpless, and the two fell into an extremely tacit, non-interfering silence. Damn, what the hell is going on to destroy this monster? Lei Luo, who was connected to Yomatsu Hirasaka's breath, could clearly feel that if Guy had attacked 2 or 3 more times, there would be cracks in this space. How many times will Guy be strangled with the crack of time and space? This idea was quickly denied by Lei Luo. I am afraid that when this space completely collapsed, Guy would never let him go. This is obviously not the answer Lei Luo is looking for. Hey, system, does my 9 Tomo Samsara Sharingan have the ability to kill ashes together? Suddenly, Lei Luo suddenly thought of Otsutsuki Kagaya's Nirvana. Killing the ashes together is a trick that uses one's own bones as a weapon. If you touch it, the knot will turn into fly ashes along with the bones. This trick is obviously the most effective method to deal with the many guys in front of you. Sorry, killing ashes together is unique to those who have used the fruit of chakra, and the host cannot learn it. Come on. Feeling that Guy's breath was gradually leveling off, Lei Luo was a little panicked. For now, Lei Luo has won the battle. After all, compared to the seriously injured Guy, he is almost unscathed, but precisely because the enemy is the undead monster, Lei Luo must completely destroy it. Extermination is a real victory, otherwise, everything is empty talk. However, the strongest move that Lei Luo has been able to perform so far is to condense his own strength. The one word slash with the underworld sacred clothes as the medium, but the power of this move can only do more damage to Guy. If only my underworld holy clothes were Hades's, killing a guy is just a matter of moving a finger. After thinking about it, Lei Luo made a decision that he felt crazy. Detonate all of Yomatsu Hirasaka's soul with the accumulated corpse gas, the maximum power of the accumulated corpse gas and soul burial to break the attack, the one word slash to attack the inside, and then use the atomic breath to make up the knife. With Gai Duo's current state, it is absolutely impossible to resist. Calm down. However, there is a great risk in doing so, that is, when the power of the corpse chi and soul burial breaks out completely, I am afraid that even Lei Luo will be involved. In addition, such a high-intensity trick will inevitably shatter this space, and the subsequent cracks in the space will be enough to make Lei Luo die. Take advantage of the world in the sky, so you can get out in the moment of the explosion. Facing the system's kind suggestion, Lei Luo just sighed helplessly. In order to make the power of the corpse chi and soul burial reach its peak, I am afraid that there is no other place to do it except the underworld. Then use Avalon's scabbard and Liuku fairy thief. After being reminded by the system, Lei Luo remembered the two heaven-defying things that he had forgotten for a long time and had always existed as a passive skill. The Avalon scabbard, which can heal all injuries, and the infinite life expectancy of the user. And the real immortal Liuku immortal thief. System, I love you to death. Go away. Now that everything is ready, Lei Luo has no worries. The blue flame that flew out of the palm of his hand has not penetrated into the depths of every soul. Chapter 333 Go back in time and come back to life. At the base of the Revolutionary Army of Baltimore, Lu Qi, who was fighting with Sabo, looked at the Straw Hats and Jinping who came over, and frowned. At present, the Revolutionary Army relies on the existence of the dragon, the pervert, to fight less and fight more without showing a tendency to lose. If a third party intervenes at this moment, especially the existence of Conqueror's Haki, the navy will sooner or later be defeated, and even the entire army will be wiped out. Good chance. Fire punch. Sabo punched out, and the sea of fire spread instantly, completely engulfing Lu Qi's figure. At this moment, look at the East China Sea. The battle between the pacifists and the beast pirates has always been in a state of evenness. For now, the only variable may be the disappearance of Enel and Akin. Aokiji, do it. Suddenly, two figures landed on the island. Ice Age. In one breath, the sea freezes and ice spreads. Whether it is a person or a thing, as long as the strength is not strong enough, all of them will turn into beautiful ice sculptures, which will be broken at the touch of a touch. The appearance of the two added some variables to the war. Holy Land Mary Joa. Sakaski, the five of us have given you enough face this time. It is an unprecedented decision to invite so many of you naval officers to the World Conference. The bald old man, one of the 5 old stars, smiled politely, but the sarcasm in his tone could not be heard by anyone present. Inviting naval cadres to participate in the World Conference, and then letting the CP organization take the opportunity to control the Navy, is what is the difference between directly vacating the position of lieutenant general or above. In previous years, only one marshal was allowed in the Navy to participate in the World Conference, so I hope this time the rules are not broken. After a little contemplation, Akainu said slowly, this move of the 5 old stars has greatly affected the secret plan between Lei Luo and the Navy. You're just the head of a group of dogs raised by the world government. Do you really think of yourself as a wolf king? You'd better not be ashamed today. The long-haired old man, one of the 5 old stars, snorted angrily, obviously dissatisfied with Akainu's attitude. Yomatsu Hirasaka. The most powerful corpse chi and soul burial is roaring, and the terrifying power derived from it will tremble for anyone who sees it. The entire Huang Izumi was constantly shaking, and huge cracks continued to spread on the ground and space. Even so, there were still countless souls constantly expanding, and then terrifying power erupted. One word cut. It was that unpretentious sword again, but this time, to Lei Luo's surprise, Gai Duo didn't dodge anything, so he chose to fight hard. Do you like hard hitting? Lei Luo chuckled, the inner core of his body continuously fission and compression, and finally all condensed in his throat. Atomic spit. However, at this moment, Gai Duo suddenly burst out and moved Lei Luo's upper and lower jaws with his hands in a very ruthless state. Dragon Hot Cannon. Just as the atomic breath was about to come out, the hot breath in Gai's mouth entered Lei Luo's mouth first. Boom. The two powerful energies met and exploded with a bang. The terrifying power swept through Lei Luo's limbs and Mukuro recklessly. Almost at the same moment, all the sword energy in Gai Duo's body was detonated. Cough. PFF'd. At this time, Lei Luo, with thick smoke in his mouth, his hands tightly covering his throat, his body curled up on the ground, the severe pain from his abdomen made him unable to maintain any additional form. Gai on the other side is also more than half a catty. He was already in the weak stage and forced to use the dragon fire cannon again. When his body functions were almost completely necrotic, the sword energy of Wan Yizizan burst out again. However, in such a situation for the two of them, the unstoppable accumulation of chi and soul is undoubtedly added to the frost. Gai, who claims to be immortal, felt for the first time at this moment that his life was threatened, and death was coming. Lei Luo, who owns Avalo's scabbard and Liuku Immortal Thief, doesn't even have the strength to motivate them, so he can only hold on and maintain his will. I went to your uncle, I didn't expect to be put together in the end. Looking at the constantly collapsing space around him, Lei Luo was indignant. He never imagined that at this juncture, he would be shown a hand by this brave and reckless man in front of him. It is detected that the host's life is threatened. Do you use your skills to go back in time? Just when Lei Luo was about to despair, the sound of the system suddenly sounded, causing a long-lost light to appear in his turbid eyebrows again. That's right, I can also go back in time. This is the big move of the old man in the League of Heroes, and it can be directly resurrected. Hurry up. Lei Luo, who found that he couldn't speak because his throat was destroyed, couldn't help but rejoice again. Fortunately, he could communicate through consciousness and system. Rewind time is on for 5 seconds. When the sound of the system sounded again, Lei Luo almost fainted in anger. He forgot the most important point, that is, Old Man Time's ultimate move must be triggered within 5 seconds to have the effect of resurrection. The systematic countdown in his mind kept counting down, and Lei Luo, who had no choice, desperately mobilized his remaining energy, and absorbed all the souls around him on his body. 1. Break it to Grandpa. Boom. The blue flame exploded, the space shattered, and the earth disappeared. Gai, who caught a glimpse of this scene, couldn't believe his eyes. That kid actually chose to commit suicide at this time. However, before Gai could regain his senses, a dazzling white light suddenly rose from the place where Lei Luo was before, which was filled with a divine power that belonged to a godlike stalwart. It's impossible, impossible. Seeing the young man walking out of the white light looking at him with a smile on his face, Gai's many facial features were completely distorted, and now he even suspected that he was hallucinating. A person who just died in front of him can no longer die, and his body was blown to dust. How could he be resurrected so suddenly? This is impossible. Then why are you surprised? If you don't die, I can't be resurrected. Lei Luo gave Gai another look, as if looking at a country bumpkin who had never seen the world. The corpse and soul burial is still continuing, and this space is obviously on the verge of collapse. Lei Luo still felt a little pity at the thought that he might no longer be able to use the corpse gas underworld wave in the future, but then he thought about it. If this space could not be repaired by himself, could the corpse gas underworld wave be used as a killer move? Transferring the enemy into the collapsed space and being smashed by cracks is exciting, but this is just a conjecture at present. Chapter 334-War of Panic. Admiral Aokiji, you. No, it should be Kuzan, Deputy Admiral of the Blackbeard Pirates. After knocking Quinn over with a punch, Smaller looked coldly at the approaching person in the distance. Admiral Aokiji, in Smog's mind, is the most hopeful candidate to become a naval marshal, but such a person with real righteousness would actually join the Blackbeard Pirates, how could this make him not have a trace of turbulence in his heart? Smog, you've become stronger, and now I'm afraid I'm not sure I can easily defeat you. Aokiji chuckled and responded. The inability to defeat Smog easily does not mean that Smog cannot be defeated, but the terrifying blessing brought by the jet black armor he is wearing now, and seeing with his own eyes the pheasant of the BIGMOM pirates' demise, can't help it. Of extreme attention. Two idiots, talking about old times in front of Lao Su, don't they take Lao Su seriously? A carp hit hard, and Quinn blocked Smog's sight. Such a nimble fat man is rare. At this moment, the battle at the pacifist base was also suspended because of the arrival of Tiki and Aokiji. Of course, with the exception of the two killing gods above the 9 heavens. Hey, everything should end, today is the death of your peacekeepers. With contemptuous eyes swept across the faces of everyone, Titch sneered, he had been waiting for this day for a long time. The battlefield that was originally inseparable was suddenly joined by two general-level terrifying existences, which was enough to turn the tide of the battle. Whoa! At this moment, the dark flames ignited fiercely, bypassing the ice sculptures with great spirituality, and attacking the laughing Tiki. At that moment, the dark flames collided with the thick black mist, and the terrifying high temperature actually caused the frozen island to faintly melt, rolling all over the place. Sanji, who is worried about the safety of the Straw Hats, will never allow any foreign forces to intervene to break the current battle situation, especially since the other party is, in a sense, the enemy of Luffy's heart. Hey, Aokiji, don't hurry up and help put out the fire. Sanji's flames couldn't hurt Tiki's hair at all, but the double superimposed pain was unbearable for him. But then again, Blackbeard, who was rolling all over the floor, looked at Sanji with a look of greed in his eyes. He must take possession of these underworld holy clothes that can bring terrifying increases. Woo! The green pheasant blew casually, and the air exhaled from the mouth instantly turned into a cold wind, which easily blew the black flames away. What is the purpose of these two people coming here? Both sides were bewildered by this question. According to Guy's plan, the current Aokiji and Tiki should be blocking the Yuhi pirates, and they should never appear here. Similarly, in the eyes of the Peacemaker Alliance, Blackbeard who captured Margao should have fled as far as he could, and why did he dare to appear? Boom! Just when everyone didn't know the reason, a blood shadow mixed with thunderlight fell in the air, and the murderous intent pervaded it, making the temperature that had plummeted due to the Ice Age even more chilling to the bone. How can you idiot have the same virtue as your father? You can't kill him if you beat him. When Analu's voice spread, he never imagined that Akin, the pervert monster, would actually be able to complete a more advanced evolution with only half of his body left. The current Ajin has completely lost the appearance of a human, except for the Golden King word accident on his forehead. Yuhi is full of hair and blood, like a blood demon god from hell, which makes everyone's heart tremble. Just like this, even if it is the top 3 disasters, it can only guarantee undefeated. Guy must join hands with Ant to knock it out and release the form of the devil fruit. Roar! A chilling roar came from Ajin's mouth, and the bloody aura emanating from his body was extremely strong, and slowly condensed into a shocking killing word in front of him. Just this word shocked all the powerhouses present. Even if they were only watching from one side, they only felt a sense of bloodthirsty madness, constantly attacking their consciousness, and it was about to completely corrode it. Assimilation. Damn, do you think I'm afraid of you? Lei Yujian Chi-shaped 9 heavens divine feather falls thunder tribulation. Analu flicked his right arm, and the Leiyuan thousand feather sword in his hand shot up into the sky. At that moment, the feathers composed of thunder pulp fell from the sky like a shower, and the thunder roared constantly above the 9 heavens, and the birds and dragons roared incessantly. Looking up, a dragon and a bird are entrenched in the sky, and they crash down with the supreme Kamui Yuhi, wanting to turn everything along the way to dust. This trick must be avoided. This is the only thought in everyone's mind, but in front of Ajin, who has been bewitched by the bloodthirsty demonic energy, the concept of hiding has never appeared, not even once. Kill. Ajin, whose smile became more and more sinister, did not hesitate a bit. Holding the word double kill, he approached the Thunder Dragon and Thunder Sparrow. Ah! Enelu smiled. The idiot in front of him was just a beast that only knew destruction. Facing such an offensive, his first thought was not to attack Enelu's body, but to kill and stop killing. Tough Dragon Sparrow. Enelu, be careful. However, at this time, Master Yi, who noticed the abnormality, hurriedly shot, but even for the first time, his sword chi still did not block the Yuhi light that came rushing in. That's right, the huge killing word that Ah Jin left behind was not a decoration. Okay, two terrifying people, these are two levels of panic. Tich subconsciously took a few steps back, and instinct drove him to stay away from this dangerous area. Boom! After a long time, the thunder light and blood energy dissipated together, and a head fell from the sky. If it wasn't for the faint king character, everyone would be able to think that this was the monster full of killing intent just now. On the other side, he was sturdy enough to endure a full-sized Enelu, even in the sacred clothes. He could clearly feel that the cracks in his internal organs appeared in many places, and even more appeared in his consciousness. A touch of lingering bloodlust. Enelu, don't get lost in the killing intent. Just follow me. Master Yi, who was standing beside Enelu, could see it the most clearly. At this moment, Enelu's muscles were bulging around his eyes, and all the whites of his eyes turned into dark Yuhi, which was full of thirst for blood. Brother Jin, Brother Quinn, let's get everyone out of here first. Drought Jack's voice even trembled. He just saw that under Akin's only remaining head, flesh and blood were constantly wriggling, and he was about to enter a brand new terror form. Chapter 335-Living Hell. Tianwei is not alarmed. Thousands of changes are especially determined. Lingjing returns to one. Hundreds of things do not invade. With the formula taught by Master Yi, Enelu's restless mind gradually calmed down. Swish. On the ground in the distance, countless tendons and veins suddenly appeared under Ah Jin's head, reorganizing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Granulation sprouted, blood was born, and a half-human, half-beast-like body was about to take shape. Not good. Enelu, continue to follow me. Sanji, Smoke, don't take action to end that monster. Master Yi could clearly feel that with Ajin's rebirth, Enelu's killing intent that should have calmed down turned violent again, and climbed to an unprecedented height. Indiscriminate demon god. Who dares to touch the young master of my family? The three disasters swarmed up. Even if they finally died in the hands of a Jin, they would never watch a Jin be killed, because this is the only bloodline of the man who gave them a new life. At this moment, Tiki, who had already retreated to one side, nodded to the green pheasant. The Ice Age ended instantly. The Mukuro corpse on the ground and the wounds of the two men and horses immediately rushed out several strong bloody auras, towards the end of the Ice Age. Akin and Enelu shrouded away. The dirt is not stained. If it is dirty, Ah Jin. With blood in his body, Enelu finally could no longer restrain the murderous intent that permeated his body. At the same time as he shot Master Fei in the first chapter, his figure turned into a Yuhi blue light, swept towards the grinning Grin who had been resurrected again. Gold. Why Yuhi blue? Master Yi, who also learned the 8 inner gates, hurriedly took a look. And at the heart of Enelu, the gate of death that represented absolute power was completely smashed at this moment. Good day. You and I can have a good time today. Ah Jin laughed wildly. He had been waiting for this battle for a long time. The white tiger fruit, a devil fruit born for killing and fighting, and when it continuously transforms its form to those with greater power, it consumes the most cherished lifespan. Now, Ah Jin has entered the final form, and the surging power contained in the body has already surpassed the previous form dozens of times, but what he did not expect is that in the last moment of his life, he will meet the same person. The same lifespan has been exchanged for a ruthless man who is almost dozens of times his own strength. Boom. A simple punch to bang, without any bells and whistles, but just like that, the aftermath of the expanding energy is visible to the naked eye like ripples, as this world is close to the top 3 disasters. Master Yi and the others, who were dressed in the sacred clothes, were blown away in just one breath, and rolled to the sea in embarrassment. It was frozen by the green pheasant, and the sea was full of cracks at this moment. PFF'd. The power that the top forces are unbearable, how can those ordinary people bear it? The blood in their mouths, their bodies that were shattered and turned into dust, was their final destination. They were submerged into the bodies of Ajin and Anilu with bloody killing energy, and turned into the destination of the source of their power. What's the matter? Why did that ominous foreboding suddenly become so strong? In the endless void, Lei Luo's heart beats more and more violently with his void walk and world pass. He seems to have seen a killing. An ultimate killing is taking place at the Peacemaker Alliance base. The mountains of corpses, the bloody sky, and a living hell on earth, whether it is the Beast Pirates or the Alliance of Peacemakers, no one has survived. Damn, it's hard to get in touch here, I have to hurry back. The idea is finalized, Lei Luo no longer estimates the load brought by the space shuttle, and now he must prevent what he just saw from happening. Look at what, if you don't want to die, don't hurry up. Master Yi roared at the still-alive powerhouses on both sides, that the death of Anilu and Ajin was still inevitable. In this case, we must do our best to reduce casualties. However, what Master Yi didn't know was that his decision led Lei Luo to see that hell scene. Holy Land Mary Joa. Abolish the King's 7 Marshalseas and wipe out all pirates and forces that violate the world government. This sea needs a great Qing. The Wu Laoxing's words holding the first-generation Gush stopped abruptly in the middle, and looked at the east with horror. Not only him, even ordinary people present can vaguely feel that in the direction of the East China Sea, there are several extremely strong forces colliding suddenly, and the destructive power of the earth-shattering cry of ghosts and gods erupted. In another room, on the empty throne that represented peace, the figure who appeared at some point was grinning. All of this is getting more and more interesting. The Revolutionary Army Base Bao's brother. Sabo, have you ever felt the direction of the East China Sea? Hurry up and get rid of these navies. Grandpa Carp is not in the East China Sea now, Dan and the others may die. Sabo, the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, who has always been seen as calm in the eyes of the world, is also full of panic at this moment, and all of this stems from that war. No. At the base of the Alliance of Peacekeepers, Anilu looked at the body he had penetrated, leaving 2 bloodstains in his eyes. I killed Gorgeous. I killed my comrades. I am going to kill all of you pirates. After a short period of kingming, Anilu has already entered a deeper state of madness. In his eyes, only killing is left, and the group of pirates who will appear in front of them will cramp out their bones, drink blood and eat meat. Compared with Anilu, Ajin has always laughed so madly. From the moment the two started fighting, his will has been completely dominated by killing intent. Now, before his life ends, he will see everything destroyed. The 8 inner gates, dead gates. Open. Master Yi and Smog, who have seen through everything, fully understand that if they want to stop the killing in front of them, the only way to stop the killing is to kill them. Their only choice is to open the last gate of the 8 inner gates as well. Smog, no. However, the fact was that in front of Tina, Smoker, who had not yet had time to open the 8 inner gates, chose to sacrifice his life in order to block the sharp claws that attacked her. Sister Tina, I'm going one step ahead. Leiju smiled, also opened the final door of death, and rushed into the battlefield with Master Yi. Lei Luo, where are you? Come back quickly. Looking at the dear friend who had grown up with her in her arms, and the sister whose life had come to an end when she got along with her every day and night, Tina finally couldn't bear the emotional outburst any longer. She knelt on the ground and tried her best. He shouted Lei Luo's name with all his strength. Chapter 336 _ Method of Resurrection. In the endless void, the impatient Lei Luo tried his best to hurry on the road, but in this extreme crisis, the guidance of the world path still reached the end. Lei Luo, come back soon. In a trance, Lei Luo seemed to hear Tina's cry of endless despair and complete collapse. That direction. As the figure sank into the void, the day-like aurora made it difficult for Lei Luo to open his eyes, and at the same time, there was a faint smell of blood wafting from his nose and mouth, and it became more and more intense. Here, it is an extremely flat, mirror-like island, without any flowers, plants and trees, just countless corpses and mukuro, and the blood that is constantly poured into the sea. The former Peacemaker Alliance base, now the hell on earth. Seeing this scene, Lei Luo only felt an irresistible force slamming into his mind violently, and he could barely endure the extreme dizziness, dragging his uncontrollable trembling body, walking every inch land. Anilu, Fire Calamity, Master Yi, Gurgis, Sanji, Perospero. Seeing the familiar faces on one corpse after another, Lei Luo's mind felt like a violent storm, and all the light in his eyes disappeared, replaced by nothing but dullness. Who is that? That's Reiju. Finally, when he saw a head that disappeared completely from the lower jaw, Lei Luo only felt that everything around him was spinning. Tina, where is Tina? Where are you, Tina? Lei Luo, who walked forward in a daze, kept whispering the name of the lover who guided him back here. This is the last light that keeps him awake. Lei Luo, why are you coming back now? Why? Dongfang of the island, as the only surviving Tina, stared blankly at the familiar figure that was getting closer and closer to him, and roared angrily. What she saw with her own eyes just now was tragic, only Lei Luo can save it, but where is he and why is he coming back now? I don't know why, I don't know. Lei Luo, who fell to her knees in front of Tina with a plop, kept reappearing in her mind the picture of hell she saw in the void. He didn't know why he came back so late, he didn't know why he didn't choose to leave Guy alone in Yomatsu Hirasaka, and he didn't know why he finally used the corpse chi and soul that was enough to shatter the space. At this moment, the only thing he knows is that everyone is dead, even if it is Tina in front of him, it is just his fantasy. In the real reality, there is a thorough wound on Tina's chest. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the task and getting the bonus God-level lottery points won. The sound of the system suddenly sounded, but Lei Luo did not respond. In the system's judgment, the person who finally won the battle was Lei Luo. However, in Lei Luo's perception, he was defeated, and it was a complete defeat. Qingzi, you are waiting for me here, I'm going to take Lei Luo's Devil Fruit ability. In the far-off sea area, Tich endured the pain and smiled at the green pheasant. On his chest, there was a sharp claw slashing through the wound left, and the blood kept dripping. Tiki, who originally planned to take advantage of the fisherman, did not expect that Ajin and Anilu would be so terrifying. If they hadn't escaped quickly, I'm afraid they would be just a cold body lying on the island. However, looking at Tich's back, Aokiji did not choose to stay, but rushed to the island one step ahead of him. Others don't know it, but Aokiji, who is a naval spy, is very clear. Guy is not dead, he has already colluded with the 5 old stars. He left his heart in the world government, and that is Guy's first time. 2 lives. Go away. The moment Guy Duo and Qingzi set foot on the island, a pure killing intent suddenly erupted from Lei Luo's body. His slightly thin back was like a world-destroying demon in the eyes of the two of them. He subconsciously swallowed his saliva. After hesitating for a while, Tiki still thought that his own life was more important, but when he was about to pull the green pheasant to escape, he found that the green pheasant had already appeared in front of Lei Luo. Snapped. Qingzi, you are a fucking lunatic. I won't accompany you here to fool around. Seeing the green pheasant, he couldn't help but raise his leg. After kicking Lei Luo's figure a few meters away, Tiki turned into a black mist and escaped at extreme speed without turning his head. Am I not clear enough? Get out. Eyeless Lei Luo walked to Tina again and knelt down. However, what was waiting for him was another kick. Do you know that Charlotte Lingling is recovering from her injuries on Skull Island, and Guy isn't dead yet? When Lei Luo came to kneel again, Qingzi still kicked, but this time, he who hated iron and steel, almost roared out these secrets. I don't care if they die or not, the last time, if you dare to disturb me again. Before Lei Luo finished speaking, Qingzi's furious fist fell like raindrops. Today, he must wake up this self-willed idiot. In a blink of an eye, the blazing sun in the east rose, and the warm sunlight shone on Lei Luo, who was still kneeling in front of Tina with a bruised nose and a swollen face, and the panting Aokiji. People can't be resurrected from the dead. Didn't this painful lesson make you realize it? It's not you who caused all these tragedies, but the Tianlong people who claim to be gods, the 5 old stars, Yimu, and the world government. Quote. Throughout the night, Qingzi kept persuading Lei Luo, but he remained unmoved as if he had lost his soul. I have a way to resurrect them. Because of the voice that suddenly sounded in his mind, Lei Luo's body shook violently, which startled the green pheasant. Say, no matter what the price is, I'm willing. Accumulated corpse chi turns spiritual wave plus reverse corpse chi underworld wave. The method given by the system is useless in the eyes of Lei Luo. Yomatsu Hirasaka has been destroyed, and when the souls of all people come into contact with that space, they will be detonated by the accumulation of corpses and souls. You haven't figured it out yet, the Yomatsu Hirasaka you blew up earlier is not the underworld of the pirate world. Then why didn't you talk all night? It's not that the host didn't ask. I'm fucking, that's all. Under Aokiji's attention, Lei Luo stood up and took a deep breath. A faint blue flame emerged from his body and rose into the air, forming a huge blue uzumaki. Chapter 337-Prophecy. With the opening of the reverse corpse chi underworld wave, a huge light blue uzumaki appeared in the air, and it could be faintly seen that the lifeless souls drifted aimlessly. That feeling of going straight to the end of death. Don't care, Aokiji, you can ask for more happiness. Looking back at the Peacemaker Alliance base, after hesitating for a while, Tich chose to rely on the ice under his feet to go away. Because the huge uzumaki in the sky, in his eyes, is like the underworld descending, which is the final place that people can only reach after death. It's just that, even now, Tich has not completely judged the true identity of Aokiji, whether it is an undercover agent sent by the Navy. Aokiji, build an ice wall for me, and I don't want anyone other than you and me to know Akatsuki for everything I do next. Lei Luo's voice sounded. A huge wave of yuhi stained with blood suddenly rose on the sea level. Uzumaki corresponds far away. The light blue energy bodies are strong and weak, sometimes sprang out of the uzumaki, sometimes submerged in. They are all waiting quietly, waiting for the king who is enough to judge their life and death below to issue instructions for action. The corpse's energy turns into a spiritual wave, and the soul returns to the body quickly. An imposing aura surged out of Lei Luo's body, condensed into a huge black shadow standing behind him, exuding a mysterious power that suppressed everything. It's a force similar to Conqueror's Haki, but it's by no means Conqueror's Haki. Only the emperors of the world who have survived several Eternals can have the tyrannical spirit of the emperor. Do it with confidence, Lei Luo, you must be the man in the prophecy, the man who opened a new era. Seeing this, Qingzi smiled, because at this moment, his memory surged, and the dusty memory appeared. Decades ago, there was only one recognized overlord in this sea, the Rocks Pirates. In the future Navy or pirates, there will be a man who will completely overthrow the world government, and he will open a new era, an era of great peace, or a darker era. This sentence comes from the mouth of the first strong man, Rocks, who openly fought against the world government, only to sit on the empty throne and become the king of the world. Right before his death. It was such a legendary great pirate who was defeated only by the cooperation of Roger One Piece, the naval hero Garp, and the departure of Whitebeard and others. At the moment of his own death, he saw the future. At that time, Aokiji was just a major general who followed Garp all day long. Although the prophecy was banned by the world government to avoid disturbing the social order, he never forgot it. The future is an extremely ethereal concept. It can be tomorrow or next year. Even if it's just the next second, it can be called the future. As for who the man was, no one knew Akatsuki except the dead rocks. And as early as a few years ago, one of the 4 emperors, Yuhi Fa Shanks, found the answer in his heart. Now, Aokiji has also found the answer to everything he entrusted. Empty island. What happened in the East China Sea? The frail Margao leaned against the wall and walked down the almost empty street alone. Since everyone in the Blackbeard pirates left, he who was imprisoned used the power of the fruit to save himself from the Halu stone handcuffs at the cost of cutting off his hands. Just now, he witnessed firsthand dark clouds rolling in the direction of the East China Sea, and it seemed that 2 figures were fighting fiercely here. Afterwards, the 2 figures disappeared, and after a long silence, the black and gray clouds were scattered by the killing intent, and the sky was stained with blood. Yuhi, that feeling, just from a distance, made people tremble, unable to calm down for a long time. Now, the cloud of blood that covered the sky was blown away by a strange force, a mysterious force that had never appeared before, and the huge Uzumaki that emerged seemed to connect 2 parts of a world one after another. This kind of terrifying strength, even when Dad was young, he couldn't do it. As this the man Daddy said was enough to change the world order. Margao suddenly smiled, his arms turned into wings made of blue flames, and he drove away in the direction of the East China Sea. Holy Land Mary Joa, the World Conference is still going on. The weakest sea area in the East China Sea is really unexpectedly frequent. The figure sitting on the empty throne, a symbol of peace, grinned, holding 3 wanted warrants with extremely high bounties in his hands. The most vicious criminal in the world, the Revolutionary Army Commander Long. The pirate who was bet on one arm by Yuhi Shanks, Straw Hat Luffy. The former admiral of the Navy, the current leader of the Alliance of Peacemakers, is regarded by the world government as the most malignant existence, Evil Eye Lei Luo. The son of prophecy will never appear, neither of you. A strange purple flame suddenly appeared in the palm of the shadow, and in a moment, the wanted order was burned into a white smoke and dissipated, leaving no trace. In the past few decades, Akainu, Aokiji, Kizaru, and Dragon, and even Roger's son Ace who appeared later, Sabo, Chief of Staff of the Revolutionary Army, and Straw Hat Luffy who broke all conventions. Too many people are regarded by the older generation or the stronger ones as the man who is about to change everything in the prophecy. However, the world is still in the palm of the world government, and no one has been able to shake its supremacy so far. Even the Revolutionary Army has turned against several kingdoms that have been quietly killed by the CP organization. East China Sea. Huh, am I dead? Analu, wake up. Don't be alarmed, the demons will retreat. Lei Luo, where are you, why haven't you come back? At the base of the Alliance of Peacekeepers, Aokiji didn't know what words to use to describe his current mood. Summoning the soul of the deceased, repairing the broken body, and finally blending the 2 perfectly by means of the sky, so as to achieve the purpose of resurrection, is this still something that can be done by one person? Before the disappearing Uzumaki in the sky, Lei Luo, who had a few more white hair on his temples, looked at the people below, just smiled lightly, and everything in front of him was completely swallowed by the darkness. Pulled by gravity, it fell towards the vast ocean. Not good. The sudden disappearance of the Emperor's aura made Qingzi find Lei Luo who was in a coma, but it was too late for him to help him. Lei Luo's fragile body simply could not bear the collision with the ice. Chapter 338-Declare War. Swish. Just at this critical moment, an azure flamingo flashed by. Months later. That stupid dog in the system didn't tell me in advance that the price of using the accumulated corpse gas in reverse is actually consuming life. Lei Luo opened his eyes in a daze, but his eyes were still cloudy. With Liuku a mortal thief, which can be called a bug skill, his lifespan has long been almost infinite, so the way of consumption has changed into the aging of body functions. The main thing is that the aging seems to be permanent this time, and there is no way to make up for it by ordinary means. System. Consuming life. Gedges, who was standing in front of Lei Luo's bed, wondered if his leader had screwed up his brain because of this accident. However, soon he was stunned for a moment, and then a long-lost smile appeared on his face. The leader is awake. The leader is awake. Surprise cheers resounded throughout the Peacemaker base that was still under construction in just a split second. Really, the boss is awake. I knew the master would be fine. Gurges, hurry up and wake up Reiju-sama and Tina-sama, why are you standing there? After chatting a few words with the people who came, Lei Luo turned his attention to Aokiji and Margao. Through the explanation of these days and the proof of Marco, everyone also knows Akatsuki's identity as an undercover agent. Qingzi, Xiaoma, what's going on with the Revolutionary Army? The base was destroyed, and the peacemakers temporarily lost all communication equipment. Lei Luo, who was worried about the alliance, had to ask the two of them. However, with the emergence of the Revolutionary Army, the joy on everyone's faces instantly faded. What happened? Where's Sanji? Wait a minute, why is this Aokiji just an ice clone? Lei Luo, who noticed something was wrong, was shocked. This abnormality seemed to have announced the end of the Revolutionary Army. It's just that he still doesn't want to believe his guesses. After we were resurrected that day, Sanji rushed to support as soon as possible, but Lei Ju did not continue talking, but took out the newspapers from the past few months and handed it to Lei Luo. The navy was victorious, and the top officials of the Revolutionary Army and the Straw Hats fled. Unexpectedly, Sanji Kurozu is arrested. Conscience found. Except for Yuhi Fashanks, the other 4 emperors announced to join the navy. After the war, the Straw Hats and the top leaders of the Revolutionary Army came to the naval headquarters again. History repeats itself. Yuhi made his appearance. The curtain ended, the 5 old stars appeared, the Revolutionary Army dissipated and Yuhifa died. The disruptors of society, only the last evil remains, the alliance of peacemakers. Sanji he. Lei Luo looked at the bold and enlarged titles, and turned to look at Lei Ju. There was no answer, no physical expression, just endless silence. Impossible. Skyburst Bennu is an underworld robe that can be infinitely reborn in flames. Sanji can't die. Lei Luo roared, he couldn't believe that he had become like this during the time he was sleeping. After a long time, Lei Luo's mood gradually calmed down. After this big event, how many people are still alive? Sabo and Luffy were rescued by Long and Yuhifa desperately, only the 2 of them. Facing the answers given by everyone, Lei Luo just asked indifferently, why don't you support? That's right, why didn't the Alliance of Peacekeepers as an ally provide support? If they were there, the Libra of Victory would definitely shift. With the support of the Peacemaker Alliance, the Revolutionary Army will not perish, the Yuhifa pirates will not dissipate, and Sanji will not die. Unfortunately, there is no if in life. This cannot be blamed on any of the people present, because when they learned the news, it was already the brother of Ball who was in ruins. Moreover, the news that Yuhi and Dragon died in battle has come. 3 years, during this time, find Sabo and Luffy, develop our army, and make a final declaration of war to the world government. This is the highest order issued by Lei Luo. Holy Land Mary Joa. It's really a masterpiece, it's all like this, and it's still alive. In the underground secret room, the 5 old stars, who represent the highest symbol of power in the world, actually knelt behind a figure whose face could not be seen clearly. At this moment, in the basement of New Oda, except for the accident of the 6 of them, the only thing that counts as life is Sanji, who is immersed in strong acid, destroyed and reborn. Lord Yimu, the abilities of these battle armors of the Peacemaker Alliance seem to be not only to enhance the combat effectiveness like combat uniforms, but they also have more terrifying hidden effects. The long-haired old man in the 5 old stars smiled coldly. On that day, he who personally executed Sanji never thought that after a few seconds, the flames on the battlefield gathered in the sky and turned into black flames. Among them is the resurrected Sanji. The characteristic of Skyburst Bennu is its infinite resurrection, but the resurrection time needs to be determined according to the injury. After Lei Luo's return, Sanji did not complete his resurrection, precisely because the injury was too heavy. Find a way to take off his bracelet and give it to me. I am through a word and turned to leave. Even the powerful man was not immune to such a temptation. After watching the only king in the world leave, the 5 old stars looked at each other with helpless and wry smiles on their faces. Sanji's bracelet, they have tried all kinds of methods, and they even don't hesitate to corrode the muscles and bones of the whole body like Sanji is now. But even if this is the case, Sanji can be reborn in the flames, and the bracelet that represents the sacred clothes is impossible to start. It seems that an attack on the peacemakers' alliance is necessary before there is any hope of finding a solution. Boom! The bald-headed 5 old stars just finished their words, and the ground shook instantly, and a tyrannical breath mixed with cold killing intent rushed straight to the foreheads of the 5 of them. Lei Luo. I heard that it was Sanji you arrested, right? High in the sky, Gai Duo, Ant, Titch, and the powerhouses of the CP organization have surrounded Lei Luo tightly. At this moment, Lei Luo's hands are pinching Lu Qi's throat. The next moment, light blue flames burst out from Lei Luo's palm, but for a moment, Lu Qi's eyes became dim, only the endless rotten aura circulated in his body, and there was no sign of a living person, his soul completely dissipated. Just relying on you defeated generals, can you stop me? Tell Wu Laoxing and Yimu to get out of here. HMPH, I'm not too old, but my tone is not too small. Lei Luo, today you've cast yourself into a trap, don't blame us for bullying more. Wu Laoxing, who walked out of the basement, snorted coldly, apparently directly issuing a kill order. 3 years later, the alliance of peacekeepers will crush Mary Joa. As I said, God can't save your end. Chapter 339 _ Final chapter of the mission. God can't save your fate. Lei Luo just snapped his fingers, and the temperature of the entire Mary Joa plummeted instantly, and even the tall building that represented the absolute face of the world government was completely frozen into an ice sculpture. From a distance, it looks like a huge iceberg, very majestic. Looking at the whole world, there is only one person who can do this, Qingzi Kuzan. Sure enough, Kuzan, you play infernal affairs well, but what's the use? The figure of the 5 old stars holding the first generation of ghosts moved. The knife was not sheathed, and there was no slash, but the ice that had frozen the tall buildings turned into dust in the blink of an eye. PFF'd. In the shadows, the figure of Aokiji appeared, with a shocking wound on his body. This is the true strength of the 5 old stars, surpassing the higher rank of the admiral. Can you still laugh when you're about to die? The bald-headed Wu Laoxing chuckled, picked up a piece of broken ice on the ground at random, and smashed it at Qingzi with his backhand. Attack Aokiji with ice. Lei Luo, who wanted to intervene, also chose to wait and see. However, at the moment when the piece of crushed ice was about to touch the Aokiji, armament Haki instantly covered it. No, this bald donkey armament Haki is a little different. Lei Luo was surprised because he found that the piece of ice had been transformed into armament Haki. According to common sense, armament Haki can only cover a layer on the surface of an object, and such a substance completely condensed by armament Haki has never appeared. And this is undoubtedly the deadliest threat to those with natural devil fruit abilities. Hey, 5 old guys, are you old enough to forget about the old man's iron fist? At that critical moment, 2 wrinkled fingers stretched out from behind the wall and firmly clamped the strange substance. Cap. At this moment, the 5 old stars instantly understood why Lei Luo came alone, and why Qingzi would reveal his identity in such a dangerous situation. All of this is to let the world government relax its vigilance, because their goal is to rescue the imprisoned core high-level navy. You stupid pirates, what are you waiting for? The 5 old stars angrily yelled at Guy for waiting for you, but, except for the CP organization, no one listened to them and dispatched them. Just kidding, Which of the pirates present is not the one who used to dominate the sea, saying that there is a unique horror, no one can directly order them to do anything except I am. Don't waste time, go first. After roughly estimating the fighting strength of both sides, Sengoku, who had just escaped, made a decision immediately. What are you running away from? I opened the 8 inner gates and killed one with one punch, believe it or not. Fighting has always been what Garp is looking forward to, especially when the opponent is not weak, his hands are already hungry and thirsty. Fuck your uncle, don't eat or drink during this time, you have the strength, but we don't have it. After making an okay gesture to Lei Luo, Sengoku dragged Garp and led the crowd to the beach, leaving only Lei Luo in the rear. Strange, what's the situation? Looking at the figures of Sengoku and the others leaving, Lei Luo found that he did not see Akainu's figure, but this is not the point is that the 5 old stars are actually standing there, letting the senior Navy officers pass by. He just lowered his gloomy face without any words. I am, what do you mean, look down on us? Lei Luo just said the name after the last Kebi and Bailu Mabe escaped from sight. Let the 5 old stars who are the highest power representatives in the world dare not speak out. Except for the Lord Yimu who stands above everything, I am afraid there will be no second person, not even Garp. Of course not, I don't look down on you, I just think it will be more fun this way. In the high-rise building, there was a mixed voice of male and female voices. Have you practiced the Sunflower Collection? How can you speak yin and yang in a weird way? Sunflower Collection, I don't know what you're talking about, but remember one thing, I'll wait for you for 3 years. After the words fell, Lei Luo only felt that the space in front of him shook for a while and then suddenly cracked, and a beautifully packaged box appeared in front of him. A little gift, I hope I can gain the insight of the leader of Lei. Unfortunately, I don't have anything for you. After a cold snort, Lei Luo turned around and walked away. After a long time, there was no one in the Holy Land Square, and the damage under the high-rise building was repaired, and everything was as if Lei Luo had never been in the future. These bastards, don't wait for me. Lei Luo, who walked to the shore, found that the ship he was on couldn't even see the hair, so he couldn't help complaining a few words. That's all, just fly back. However, just as Lei Luo entered the boundary of the East China Sea, the gift box given by IM in his arms suddenly burst open, and under the action of gravity, a round thing sank into the sea with a plop. Creak. At that moment, the blue veins burst out on Lei Luo's forehead, and the crucial Kiba crown made his head tremble, and the endless anger was instantly ignited in his heart, which was burning and could not be extinguished. It never occurred to him that IM would make such a big joke with him. The spherical object that fell into the sea earlier turned out to be the head of Admiral Akainu. 3 years later, I will definitely end you with my own hands. Lei Luo's fists clenched loudly, blood slid down his fingernails and into the sea. Ding! System quest activated. Endgame. Endgame. Overthrow the world government in 3 years, kill IM, and exterminate the Draconians. This will be Lei Luo's last mission in this world. Late at night. Scream. Shout out to Lao Su. In the underground secret room of the world government, the 5 old stars kept pouring all kinds of liquids into the container where Sanji was located, but they threw everything that could be linked to words such as corrosion and high temperature. During the day, the group of pirates and Lei Luo actually made the 5 of them slump like this. Although it was an order from Lord Yimu, the 5 people who had never been treated like this, naturally couldn't swallow this breath. Sanji, a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, and the younger brother of Leiju, the mistress of the Peacemaker Alliance, is the perfect combination of the pirate and the peacemaker. His screams are the most beautiful music in the world. Just add the lava into it. I want to see how long he can last for this little bird that can be resurrected infinitely in the flames. I can't wait to hear his roar and begging for mercy. At the same time, a clown-like figure came to the Peacemaker Alliance with several corpses. Chapter 340 _ Clown Visiting. You can't help hiding your identity at last, Bucky the Clown. All the peacemakers have already left this island and went to a secret place that no one has found. Lei Luo is the only one left, silently waiting for someone to visit here. Bucky the Clown, the trainee crew on Roger's ship, one of Yu Shank's best friends, a character that even Whitebeard still remembers and has never missed participating in any major event. How do you know that I must be hiding my identity? The soft moonlight pierced through the night and shone on Bucky's funny make-up face. This was a murderous but unusually calm face, another look that not many people in the world have ever seen. Ha ha ha, if you have to have some brains, who would think you are an ordinary person? A figure who, in the eyes of the Navy, was nothing more than a clown, and participated in the Battle of Atwal unscathed. He fought against the Eight Treasures Navy, the Ward Pirates, and the naval forces led by Zephyr several times without defeat. The body was divided into several pieces, and the big adventure in the whole world could finally appear intact. In the face of Magellan's attack that made the Blackbeard pirates unbearable, the panic on the surface was entirely due to luck, but in fact, he never made a single move and escaped from the underwater prison. Being immortal under the sandstorm of the Desert King K. Rockville, ignoring the slash of the world's first swordsman Hokage, being frozen by Aokiji is no problem, escaping from the pursuit of Akainu, escaping the laser of Kyabu, being beaten by many old men the strong will remember. Since Luffy went to sea, he has been featured in countless major events. Such incidents, Lei Luo can be said to have 3 days and 3 nights without repetition. Just imagine that a person who can do these things is really a ridiculous person with a lot of luck. The answer is of course 2 words, no. The flight execution on Straw Hat Road in Rog Township failed due to thunder and lightning. Perhaps this is quite ridiculous in the eyes of the world, but Long, the revolutionaries' commander-in-chief, once told me that after that incident, he owed you a favor. Also, in Rog Town, you were arrested by Smog with the Sea Tower Stone net. As a devil fruit person, you just ignore the Sea Tower Stone. I think there should be few people who can do it. Furthermore, I don't believe that a little pirate would choose to ignore it after learning that his best friend had become the prestigious 4 emperors. Lei Luo directly started 3 consecutive lore shots without giving Bucky any room to refute. In this clown, there are so many things that cannot be explained by common sense, and can be described by luck blasting and just right. Only the stupid and weak like Luffy will think that the clown is just a clown. You're not quite right, that dragon, you owe me more than once or twice. Bucky's words were obviously joking on the grounds of softening the atmosphere, but the muscles on his face couldn't squeeze out the humorous smile that should appear on this occasion. I don't care how much the dragon owes you, I just want to know if the underworld King Rayleigh and others, as well as the few kings under the Chihuahai who suddenly lost news, are all related to you. Everyone is understanding, there is no need to beat around the bush, Lei Luo directly raised the only confusion in his heart. After the World Conference, the 5 old stars announced the abolition of the King's Shichibukai, and named them the Evil Pirates. But it was such a coincidence that except for Bucky, Whitebeard too, and Doflamingo who was imprisoned in the Great Undersea Prison, the others seemed to have evaporated from the world, and there was no news. The same is true, as well as Rayleigh, Shachi, and Kuroka's. I just hid it. Then why did you come to see me this time? One is an alliance, and the other is a few of them. After the words fell, Bucky turned to look at the corpses he brought, and it was all the officers of the Uhifa pirates. In front of the world government, the gods take away the dead body without knowing it, not to mention ordinary people can easily do it. It's easy to make an alliance. You and I are nodding, but Yuhi sent them. What do you mean? Lei Luo stroked the white hair on his temples, and his tone was somewhat helpless. The world government must have known Akatsuki about his own resurrection of all peacemakers, and Bucky, who has the ability to match the CP intelligence organization, must have gotten the news right away. It's just that there happened to be a special existence where Uhifa several people died, Ant Lingling. Lei Luo owns the corpse chi and the underworld holy clothes of Hades, the underworld king. Controlling the undead is only a trivial matter for him, but if the soul of the deceased does not enter the underworld, it is controlled by others. Just as Akainu cannot be resurrected by Rayleigh, precisely because Yomatsu Hirasaka doesn't have his soul. It's not a very good plan to risk attacking the world government now. I brought their souls with me. I saw Bucky's chest suddenly cracked, and then his heart was divided in two, with a few clusters and extremely thin light blue flames flickering faintly, and it seemed that it might be extinguished at any time. The last question, except for Yuhi who sent them, the other souls. The top leaders of the Revolutionary Army, your subordinate Jinping, and the Straw Hats gang. It's just that my ability is limited and I can't bring all the corpses. If you agree, Uncle Rayleigh and the others will bring all the corpses. It turns out that the world government only released the disappearance of the Revolutionary Army and the pirates, but in order to attach a photo, in the final analysis, the corpses were quietly snatched away by Bucky. Okay, let's make an alliance. In the face of Lei Luo's condolences, Bucky has no surprises. Among the discerning people, doubts and suspicions only exist all the time and will never appear at all. Obviously, the two present belong to the latter. Then I will leave this side to you. Before dawn, I will bring everyone here again. Good. Seeing Bucky, who had not touched the ground with his feet and was still able to levitate, Lei Luo was surprised again. The splitting fruit must have both feet on the ground to activate the fruit power, which now seems to be just what Bucky wants the world to see in the final analysis. Just like the clown in the circus, he can only be seen laughing forever. System, I, the one who rescued the Yuhi pirates, can count as completing the task in reverse. Are there any special rewards? Looking at the long-respected names in front of them, Yuhi sent the pirates in this way for the first time, Lei Luo suddenly asked the system. Host, what do you think? I think it could be. Go away. Okay.